There we go. Now it will actually stop trying to kill me. Do that. Grab all of this. Put it right around down there. And we should be good to go. There you go. All right. Where's the brick boy? There he is. Yeah, my bad. YouTube did the thing again. It did the thing again where I was like, go live on YouTube. And then it was like, gotcha, I'm going live on YouTube. And then I alt-tabbed away for a second. And I looked back 30 seconds later and it wasn't live on YouTube, which I feel like is a little bit of a breach of my trust personally. But I guess the $1 billion trillion? Google, right? Like $1 trillion corporation. Yeah, the $1 trillion corporation can get away with whatever it wants. What the fuck am I going to do about it at the end of the day? Let me pull some shit up here on the sides while we are getting
very good
set up.
This person is
21 months, Hecko. Jesus. Thank you very much for your continued support. We can pull up maybe this video that I put up about ad split view. What, the new Firefox feature? This video that I put out about it, just so I can have all of the shots ready. We're gonna be talking about stuff too, but can't wait to become a multi-trillion-dollar corporation. I mean, if you do that shit, if you want to kick a couple million my way, I mean, I'll have nothing to offer you of value because you're a multi-trillion-dollar corporation, and you probably only care about like the blood of the innocent and becoming a multi-quadrillion-dollar corporation. But like, you wouldn't notice if a couple of your millions went missing, right? And that shit would change my life forever. All right. That, I mean, this is not really going to be useful until we start talking about the patch and shit. 3 more months. I've been following Mr. Streamer for 2 years. 2 years. That's crazy to think I've even been streaming for that long. But I guess it's true, man. I guess it's fucking true. I appreciate it, obviously, Hecko. You've been a pleasure to have around the whole time. All right. Let's talk about id, man. We're certain it's id coming as a new character. I mean, okay, so that is why I brought this up. It's pretty hard for it to, listen. I didn't really consider it. As soon as people mentioned it, let me mute this past brick guy. As soon as someone said it in the chat, it's like, it's really hard to look at that and think that it's anything else, right? Like, I know it kind of looks stupid because it is the bottom of his head, but that does look like him, right? Oh, wrong game, right? Like, that chin, that is his face. Right, that is his armor down to like, you know, like the little bandages there, right? And in Ragnarok, he has a little bit more of a spiky thing going on too, from what they revealed, right? It's like a little spike there is not wrong. Like if that's not id, by the way the spikes looked, I assumed it was Black Knight, you know? It sure looks a lot like it. We can't see, obviously the big slam dunk will be the weapon. If we just saw the like fucking guts Dragon Slayer, well, not even really, it's just a hunk of sheep metal, right? If we saw his like weird ass fuck sword, then we would know like 100%. But like, I don't know, man. Listen, it is cool and everything, but when am I getting my UL fit? I'm crying, you know. Went to my first local yesterday. I see what the hype was all about. They're so fun, man. Got you would be the brickest boy. Got you would be the brickest boy in my heart. So true, so true. So listen, maybe it's not it. It sure fucking seems like id to me. I mean, you could maybe, is that his sword? Is that like the hilty part of his sword? I don't know, but it sure like 99% seems like id to me. No way it's Black Knight's chin's not sharp enough. What do you know? Well, I'm no Grand Blue lore master, so I can't tell you what other characters it could be if it isn't id, but it sure does fucking look like id. It also, obviously, that's the blade, actually. I mean, it doesn't really have a blade, but yeah. Like that, like it could be like that part of it or whatever. I'm not sure, right? It makes a little too much sense as well, right? Like, Ragnarok is going to be, like, assuming that this is in 2 months or something like that. Then Ragnarok will kind of be right around the corner as well. I don't know. Maybe it's not. We'll sure look really silly if this video will age very poorly in hindsight if it turns out to not be id. But it sure looks like it, right? It's free Ragnarok ad, plus the new stage is definitely based on his Sky Realm. Yeah, new stage. Actually, I see... something about a new stage. I might have missed that. I can't wait for Evil Reaganlev. Yes, it's actually Diek from Fire Emblem, the Binding Blade. Yeah, with Wraps and Spikes is probably id, yeah, plus Ragnarok ad. Yeah, exactly. So, with that in mind, I wanted to just spend basically probably most of the stream, maybe all of the stream, talking about id, talking about what he might look like, They've already copied movesets pretty directly from Reeling for the EX characters, right? And obviously with id, this is the only source material you really have to go off of. So I figured we could pull him up in Reeling, see how he kind of works. He's an interesting one. He's certainly a lot more elaborate than like Grand Jita and Narmaya that they pulled for the EX characters, right? So there could be a lot of different ways that they could go with him. Talk about that for a little bit, and then maybe even, discuss a little bit of patch 2.6, because notably, right, there is not, obviously everyone has gotten very swept away by new system mechanic, right, which absolutely is valid. That probably is going to be the biggest change in that patch, maybe. But adjustments to system mechanics, be it potentially plural, potentially multiple, right? Obviously new DLC, which seems like it's going to be new stage, yeah. And some balance changes as well. I mean, balance changes, we've talked them to death, but I really do want to talk about, what things we might see as far as adjustments to system mechanics, what things I would like to see, and what vein the new system mechanic could be in. So that's we're going to go all over the place. We're going to go all over the place. It's going to be a good install character, and Vera mains will rend garments and tear hair. Vera mains already have a good install character. It's called Vera. It is probably going to be a Shoto with an install? Probably. Again, we get very generous with the term Shoto around here, right? People have told me that like almost half of the Grand Blue roster is a Shoto, and you could say, oh, that's because half of the Grand Blue roster is a Shoto. But people have looked me in the eyes and called like Avatar Belial and Beelzebub like Shoto plus, or like people get very generous with the term Shoto. So we'll see. Good luck with CM. Thank you. New system mechanic near, can't use it, Deathless, probably. But without further ado, I don't really know exactly how id works in this video game, right? So only vaguely. Like I gotta go remember real quick how the fuck this kid even functions. By the way, I guess like very minor, major spoilers, but for like a 4-year-old game with. It is a good guy. Like, if you played like the first chapter of this game and then like somehow you fast forward it to here, you're like, what the fuck, playable id? I mean, I feel like it's one of the most obvious like Zuko imitation character arcs that you could see from a million miles away. But like, there he is, right? He's not so bad eventually. So id, right? Anti-hero to redemption, yeah. He's a swordsman has overcome the harsh fate imposed upon him. Yeah, so he's got like the big like gimmick with id as far as like the flavor is that he is kind of like Versuja, I guess. Though where I think Versuja is Rhine is an avatar of like the actual full-on god of creation, right? I think Bahamut, creation / destruction. Id has like one half of like there's a I'm not a Grand Blue lore master, so you're gonna have to forgive me. But like the Bahamut, the proto Bahamut that Lyria and the captain like swing around is like the Sky Realm half of Bahamut, and like Bahamut Versa is the astral half of Bahamut or something like that. And if they both were shoved together, they would become like essentially like a biblical god, like like just the creator, like the omnipotent creator god that made the world or some shit. That might be, I might be partially talking out of my ass, but the point is, it has a giant fucking dragon inside him, and he uses it to great effect to kill people. It is only the catalyst. Versuja is the full god. Fair. Yeah, but whatever Versuja's god is definitely a little bit more powered up, right? Whether it's both halves of the thing or one half, or like an avatar of one half of the thing or whatever. Who knows, right? Anyway. This is all basic reeling stuff. He's got like light and heavy attack combos. This Versalis gauge, right? When it fills up, he goes into like a pretty big body install is what I would think. Boom, right there, right? So this is quite interesting. There's also this God Might thing, which I actually don't entirely know how this works, right? Allows id to enter dragon form upon attacking with Y, which is like the heavy attack button. Once the Versalis gauge is full, landing specific heavy attacks and link attacks fills the gauge. Allows dragon form id. So presumably this is, once you're already in your big body install there. To enter God Might, once 4 outer segments of the Versalis gauge are full, landing combo finishers and link attacks fills the segment. So I just wanna run through this one more time for myself. So it's like these heavy attacks fill that shit up, I think. I think you can also like have like he just like use skills fill it up, right? He builds it up, and then I think he gets like a cooldown refresh when he actually goes like fully back into the dragon form. And you can charge it up and it fills up more. And then boom, yeah, and then as all of the cooldowns come back, then landing. Okay, so skills don't work anymore to land to fill that up. His combos never end. They said landing combo finishers fills the gauge, but... Oh. Okay, hold. I gotta... Oh, okay, so if you just keep... Okay, if you keep spamming for long enough, it works. I see. It's literally Siegfried. I don't know about you. He's never done anything like this in Grand Blue anyway. I guess you just keep spamming this, and then it'll work eventually. So, boom, right? So then he kind of uninstalls. Like, he goes... Grand Blue Shadow the Hedgehog, indeed. God form is an install if you dragon form enough, right? So he's like regular Boya, right? And then he turns into big motherfucker, and then he just turns back into like Super Saiyan Boya, and then in Godmight you can just mash Y repeatedly and see. Okay, so yeah, it's his regular combos. Otherwise, I assume they're like damage buffed and everything, and then you can just you just mash this over and over. Okay, yeah, I mean understandable. Yeah, he does a little matching, and then boom, and then it goes away, right? This is Godmight, his regular combo ending gets insane. I see, okay. Yeah, so it's weird, and then he's like kind of a two-step... Weirdly, it's like the closest thing that this makes me think of right away is like, bear with me for a second here. It's like Dragon Ball GT. You know what I mean? Like, it's like base form going into the big, like, Golden Grade Ape, and then the Golden Grade Ape kind of going into Super Saiyan 4. You know, ramp up a la Lucilius. It's weird though because he installs and then he like the install is just a path to another buff, you know, which takes the install away. Right? Like in the fighting game right now, there's not something quite like this, right? Like it will probably be like an active install that could go and then leave. But if you spend enough time in it, you get like an actual secondary install that's even more powerful. Right? Like he's at his weakest in his base form. If he gets enough whatevers, however they make this gauge build up, I mean, in the game, it's just built up by him hitting you, right? So maybe this sounds like something that he could maybe spend meter on, at least to get into dragon form, right? Like it could be like a Vera or Soriz or any of the installs type install, except then there's a second layer to it, right? There's a second layer to where it becomes like your install drops and you get maybe some kind of permanent buff from there. That makes you real strong for the rest of the round at least, or maybe I guess if they want to be crazy for the rest of the game, but you probably have to be very careful with the power level there. So like that's the general gimmick, right? How we can think about it in a second how this is going to be implemented, and certainly looking at some of his skills is going to be really helpful for this as well, right? Because he has some things that like instantly progress him through that. What's good, lad? You uplinking your shit or some such? I mean, this is a Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising stream, but we are just talking about id in particular because it seems like he's going to be the next DLC, and the only source material that we have is through Relink, right? So as far as like skills, right? I really hope Magliel and Galanza appear in his SBA, SSBA. Since I Tway and Fate, they get protective over him. Since I Tway and Fate. I don't Tway as a person, but I don't know why she's a verb there. So, anyway, as far as skills, right? I mean, some of these are just basic attacks, right? Big ol' slash, you could, like, this could be, like, a Verdrengen type thing or something, right? I mean, obviously he has more than 4 skills, and they do also change when he's in dragon form, right? So, this is just, I mean, that is literally Siegfried Nelanov, right? Like, that's straight up Siegfried Fireball. I mean, guy in like, relatively heavy armor with big-ass, like, stone, not even like sharp sword. There's some similarities there, I'm sure you can see, right? It's like, I mean, this will be, if they put this in, this could definitely be some kind of neutral skip. This does lifesteal in Relink. It probably shouldn't do that in Rising, obviously, right? There's a lot of things that heal you in this game that, you know, obviously it wouldn't translate super well into a fighting game, I don't think, to give in some kind of lifesteal like that. And then this is more so that this is a tanking ability. It's more of a support ability, right? Maybe you could implement this somehow, but again, this is designed for a game where you are in a party. Ragnarok form is interesting. So you just instantly transform into the install. Something like this, like, again, him spending meter on something that just does this for him could be very interesting. There is also the possibility, by the way, that whatever the new system mechanic is going to be, like, it is going to be, like, a good showcase of it. Like, this is a little intertwined as well, right? Where maybe it's possible that, like, the new system mechanic is something that's going to be, like, core to its gameplay a little bit. I'm not sure, right? But yeah, this is, like, it just basically instantly puts him into his dragon form. And then if he's in Godmight, then it resets the timer, right? Because the dragon form is a 6/6U merchant. He might be. He might be. 6/6U merchant is a valid theory. Well, 6/6U is also interesting, but the dragon form is like a long install, right? Like it has a timer, but it's the timer is quite long. God Might is a little shorter, but also more powerful. So I don't know. The double layered install I think is very interesting. But yeah, something like this probably, like I imagine this is how he would go into it. Maybe you would also just let him, like, maybe he has two different ways. Like kind of like Vera, right? Vera can just hit you with a command grab, and then that instantly puts her in there, right? Or she could get super, and then that puts her in her install as well. I could see something like this where he has, you know, a way that requires a little bit more doing to get into dragon form, and then he can just, like, spend a U skill or 100 meter or whatever, depending on what it is they're doing, and then boom, right? Just insta dragon form and go from there. And then this is just a big motherfucking smack, I think. It is very notable, by the way, that, again, all of these moves look... He charges up for a very long time. I did not realize. Okay. He takes constant damage while charging. I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, do we want another self-damage character in the game who just murders you after they do some damage to themselves? Maybe. His skill sets do not change in dragon form. They don't change, but they do different things, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that is it the Reagan Lev or is it Skirt? Like they look different. Like they become like the same. They're the same set of skills, but they don't do the same thing. Like they're all empowered versions. If I remember correctly. Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure I recall that from the one thing where you actually played as him, right? It's just inflict slow is probably not super valid for the fighting game, right? So like again, the things that seem the most applicable is like, I mean, this would be really interesting. I don't know how you could make something like this a fighting game. In a fighting game, I guess you could have like a special where you could just charge it up, kind of like a Verdrengen, but I don't know if you like how exactly you'll if you're gonna make it go for that long. I don't know if you can really do it. Inflict slow not valid. Lance is right there. Yeah, and I think it's certainly not the kind of thing that we want to repeat multiple times, right? Lance's U fireball was a mistake. They nerfed him like 7 patches in a row, and then they're like, all right, now we can give him some buffs. This could be interesting. The Ragnarok form, I'm almost certain, is going to have some sort of idea here where you can spend super to get into it, right? It'd be like Siegfried 214U, maybe, yeah. I mean, this will be like a special with 4 different versions, likely, right? Likely? Maybe? Coming up with a 5U for this asshole is also just kind of weird, right? Because again, he probably would have to do 3 different things depending on which of his versions he's in. Beatrix 2.0 with the slow? I guess if you count Clock, yeah. Id feels more brawler than swordsman. He uses his fists more than his sword by and large, yes. Especially when you count dragon form, right? We can take a look too at what some of these look like. Like, let's look at the ones that we maybe are interested in. So Reagan Lev, this is also, I forgot about this one. Yeah, it's just a projectile, right? Like, it may very well be a character with a fireball, right? If you're thinking more Shoto inclined for him, then this would certainly be something that would be in the kit, right? It will be just like a maybe, you know, maybe faster version like of like a Grand Reagan Lev. Like it comes out faster, maybe it has more recovery or something, like a little bit more aggressive in that sense. Let's see. Never Enough is fine. I mean, Ragnarok form, we already know what it does. I do kind of want to see that fourfold vengeance. This is kind of also a duplicate fireball. Let's switch this out for fourfold vengeance. I want to see what it looks like in the different forms. You'll have Reagan Lev for damn sure. Yeah. Probably going to be a fireball character of some kind, right? Which is nice. Nice for him. All right, so again, right, like this stuff, it's all, you know, relatively normal here, like we just saw. But I think, first off, it is very interesting to note that this is something they gave Vera in a patch recently, right? Is they made her install refresh her cooldowns. This is something that id does in this game by default as well, right? When he goes into the dragon form, you can see all my shits on cooldown here. Beep. But when I go into dragon form, it all comes back, right? Subbrick guy, I am now SGM, so now you nor chat can shit on me now. This guy thinks being top 3 in GM will keep him from being bullied. We'll just move on to the next thing, man. So look at this, right? Scourge used to be this big sword swipe, and now it's that. Whatever the fuck that is, right? And then Reagan Lev becomes Vegeta's technique, right? Never Enough is still a rushdown hit, right? Still just does more damage, basically an empowered version. And then, oh, we don't get fourfold vengeance anymore, huh? It just becomes Arcadia. That's the slow skill. Interesting that they swapped out my skill there. We will always downplay, it's true. Interesting they swapped out my skill there, actually. That's certainly noteworthy. But yeah, like maybe I was not clear earlier when I said that he oh yeah, this is Vegeta's technique as well, right? You can just go boom, 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 boom. It's like, this is interesting, certainly. I don't know, it would be really odd if his big body form was a zoner and like his other forms were like more rushdown, right? But yeah, then you hit Godmite, and then again, Godmite kind of goes back to business as usual. I don't think, yeah, like now his skills look normal, right? But again, they are just supercharged versions again of normal id skills. They're not even like different mechanically really, except for just hitting harder. And then obviously he gets the big boom right there. I do want to hold on. I want to see what Fourfold Vengeance looks like here, but I'm not sure if I'll have the time. Wait, come back quicker, man. Do you have a gauge to charge like Lucy? Again, the difference is both, like, all his shit here is timed, right? Look, I mean, look at, like, it's running out. If he has a gauge to charge like Lucy, how does that work with double installs, you know? Maybe this is just two completely separate things. Like, maybe I'm thinking in the game, you have to go into the dragon form. What if his gauge works like Abba? It may be, right? The thing that is, you can have a training setting for no cooldown. Oh, skill cooldown, instant. Well, I'm not going to get it back anymore, man. I'm not going to get it back. It's okay. Restart with changes. And we can get there real quick. I do want to see what this big fucking smack looks like. It is interesting that it's not... You're not actually allowed to use this in the dragon form, right? It's got to give you a lot of that fucking Versailles gauge, you know? Beep. That's a high damage cap. Jesus. Funny, you could just spam it like that. No cooldown does not look right. I mean, it is not right, but... Beep. And boop. And then go ape mode on him. Oh, is it always... Do you always just get 5? Right? Do you just always get these same... Because I realize they also move around. Does dragon form always only have these specials? Scourge, Reaganlev, Never Enough, and Arcadia? No matter what you slot in? It seems like maybe, right? Because it didn't, like... I brought in 3 of them already. So it seems like it didn't change that much, but I realized it did switch out the orders of the skills. Maybe that is how that works. It's always those exact 4. Same as Sandy? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't play Sandalphon in this shit either. I'm a Vasaraga main. It would be interesting, though, to know if... I mean, that would maybe be a good hint at, like, what his skill... Like, what 4 skills they'll probably give him, right? Probably. Does this look any different? Dragon Form got a meter a timer like a regular install than SBA. SSBA could be Godmite? Maybe. Yeah, it just does more damage. A lot more. 50% or almost like 75% more, right? My. Miss American Pie. Okay, yeah, he's curious. There's a couple different ways that could go with him, right? Like, certainly in the game, the way it works is that you have to go through the Dragon Gauge first to get to Godmite. But yeah, it could be a thing where it's just they just make them 2 separate mechanics, right? Possibly, like, it could be a thing where the dragon install is like a temporary buff that you can get that, like, yeah, changes the way he plays, like turns him into more of like a, well, I say Potemkin, not like a grappler, like more just like a big normals, like almost like yeah, big body zoner type character, you know what I mean? Like, he has just like a big ass fucking, like, he has big ass normals, like big ass mediums and heavies, and like some good, obviously Potemkin doesn't have projectiles, but still like good full screen options and shit like that. It'd be interesting. And then his normal state is more like rush downy. Staring respectfully at his big normals, his huge naturals. Maybe, man. And then, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, that could actually be pretty interesting if he could just... I mean, maybe that could be his... I wonder if, as weird and fucked up as it sounds, I wonder if he could be like a stance character almost. Where, like, you could just... Not freely, but, like, if you could just switch... Yeah. Like, I wonder if you could just switch between base and dragon form. Not really sure how they're going to implement Godmite with it just being so similar to his base kit. I mean, that is very clearly just like some kind of Vera install type buff, right? Lucy Blade level type buff. Like, that would just be a get better at the thing you currently do install, I would wager, right? But I wonder if you could basically switch between dragon form and like regular id. And like regular id is a rushdown character, and like, you know, in Godmite he gets way more oppressive with it, and then dragon form id is like a slow, like, big normals zoning type character. it'd be kind of interesting. The play styles in the video game, at least in Relink, are different enough that you could do that, but I'm not sure how exactly you would balance that. You'd have to either make him pretty not great at both of them, or he might just be too good, right? I'd assume him taking damage or receiving it will build a special meter for his dragon form. 5U could be him charging his gauge like Lucy 5U. Yeah. So like, you could go a couple different ways with it, right? Either it's how restricted you want the installs to be. Either he just has like forms that he switches through, right? Think almost like Sandalphon, but like way more, like he only has two different forms and they're way more different and like way more impactful, right? If that's the case, then you probably end up with this 5U just being something like, again, like a form change, right? Or you want it to be kind of like a multi-step install character. If you want to make it a lot more restrictive, then yeah, it might just be a thing where, you know, base id maybe isn't the best, right? You're just trying to get there. You're trying to get through it into Dragon id, and then Dragon id is not the final stop either, right? Like there's some mini game you have to play in base id to get the dragon, and then there's some mini game you have to play in Dragon id to get to Godmight. The thing is, if you're gonna do that, Grand Blue rounds just don't last that long. So if you want to actually have that be meaningful in any sort of way, because either, you know, if it's like, oh, well, you have to land one combo with it, then he goes into dragon form. Maybe that's cool, but it feels like maybe at that point it's like, well, why am I even here, right? If you want it to feel like you're spending, you know, enough time in the stages for them to feel like you're actually playing the game as them, while still having that payoff be meaningful, I feel like you might have to let it be like on a cross rounds thing. But that is a design... Like as in, like, say, like, once you get to Dragon Form id, we just changed BL5, so it's feasible to get there. I would hope they don't do that again. Yeah, like, well, I'm saying, you could make it really, really easy to go into Dragon Form. You could make it so that, you know, he just has a special move in base form that turns him into Dragon that's available at round start, right? But then it's like, okay, well, why am I even here? If it's a 3-step thing that they're gonna be doing, you probably need to make it so it just, like, fucking persists through the game or something. But that is certainly dangerous and very snowbally character design, right? So I'm not sure if they would do something like that. Like imagine if, because imagine if it was like Vera, but instead of having to get through one, she had to get through 2 installs. She couldn't do it, right? It wouldn't be feasible to do it, like almost ever. Like already like a good over half, or maybe around half of her rounds, she never even gets to install in the first place. It depends on the matchup, right? Imagine if that install was a stepping stone to something else. So that's why I feel like having it, unless they're willing to go super experimental with it like that, and have him be like almost like a Manon-style character, except instead of slight damage buffs to his moves every time he progresses the stage, he becomes a whole different character for the rest of the game. That could be very interesting. I don't know if they could pull off something like Soul Calibur Amy going cross rounds for her installs. I'm not familiar with Soul Calibur. It's cool to see. I'm sure the concept's been implemented in a couple of games before, right? But that would be a very, very interesting direction to take the character, right? And based on the fact, I mean, the Dragon form seems to have Reaganlev, Scourge, Never Enough, and Arcadia, right? Like, this seems to be the 4 skills that I can't wait to play as not Nero. They knew what they were doing. His super is called Deadweight, right? They knew what they were doing. The fact that these seem to be the 4 skills that his Dragon form has, doesn't mean anything necessarily, but it could just be the 4 skills that he ends up with, right? A fireball, some kind of big swingy move, probably a combo move, some kind of launcher. I mean, it certainly does launch people here, right? A sort of, like, some kind of lariat neutral skipping move. Like, this is certainly a pretty Shoto moveset, right? Fireball, some kind of launcher / combo starter, something like Grand Boot, right? Probably not life stealing. And this will be interesting, though. I don't know what the fuck. Inflicts slow on foes within a conical zone in front of the id. This one seems like the one that doesn't really fit to me, but maybe they could figure out some fucking way to give him something like this. I mean, this would probably, if it did anything like this, it would have to be the U version of the skill, right? Like, it would have to be like, maybe the light, medium, and heavy versions are just like plus, and that's kind of representing that. And like, maybe the U version did something like that. But yeah, again, I have to be very careful with it. It would have to be like, possible DP, or treat it like U ice from Lance. Yeah, I guess it could just be a DP as well. Like, where you're just putting it in there for the flavor, but you're not actually letting him fucking slow you down. Maybe. We could just also say fuck the fact that they only gave him those 4 specials in dragon form, right? Like we just give him something else. Like we just give him. I mean, this would be another just boop. This would be like a second fireball, right? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But yeah, I think it'll be very interesting if they went the oh yeah, fuck it. Like his like install progress maintains across rounds. I think that'd be very interesting. And I mean, they have been trying, some newer stuff with. They've been doing some newer stuff with some of these DLCs. This would be the most different that anyone has been. I mean, at least since 2B, and maybe even more so than 2B. If he was like a different character on round 1 and then 2 and then 3, probably, right? I mean, I guess there's also the option that they do just hard code it like that. I feel like that would be bad though. Like if it was like round 1, you're always regular id, round 2, you're always dragon id, and if it gets to a round 3, you get godmight, right? That could be interesting, but I feel like that would suck. I feel like that would kind of stink, because then you don't have agency as a player of like what you're going for. There's no like that could be a very interesting mini game to juggle, and if you just take it out of my hands, I don't think I like that very much. More realistically, that'd be very stinky. Yeah. More realistically, I think it's probably just going to be something where you can, like, dragon form id is better than base id, but godmight is better than dragon form, and to get to godmight, you have to stay in base id for a little bit, and like, you can switch between base and dragon form id at will. That seems like it could be pretty likely to a guy like me. Good luck at the CM today, bro. Thank you, thank you. I am not super happy with the horses I have, but we'll do our best. Problem with that is you make it too strong for being on a later round. You can type Luma where Vlov just gets way stronger after he loses a round. Yeah. I mean, again, I think the hard coding thing is just bad. But the progressing, the like maintaining his install progress across rounds is a very interesting idea, but there's a very good reason it's not done very often, right? It's quite hard to balance one way or the other. Because, like, how good do you make Godmight id if he starts a round as him? You know what I mean? You certainly can't make him as good as, like, BL5 Lucilius, as, like, an obvious example. Because, like, there's a very good reason that Lucy never gets to start the round as that guy, right? Like, you probably couldn't even really make him as good as, like, Install Vera or something, right? So, I don't know. It's... separate rounds, this will just be multi-blood type Lumina Vlog. People hate this zoner getting stronger if he loses a round. Yeah, again, I think the hard-coded, he's in this form in round 1, this form in round 2, and this form in round 3 is a bad idea, right? I'm saying even like he's working towards an install through whatever mechanic, but it maintains across rounds. That could be interesting. Like, he doesn't have to lose to get stronger. He just has to do whatever it is he does to get stronger, but it takes a long time to get there. That could be interesting, but it runs into a lot of balancing handicaps to make it feel fun, I think. Like, on the one hand, again, you can't make the final form too strong, probably. But then also, it's like, well, but I still want to feel accomplished and rewarded when I get there, if it's only going to happen maybe once every few games, right, to get to Godmight. Since it's supposed, maybe the game doesn't go to around 3, so I never even get there, right? Or maybe it's, like, designed to take roughly, 0.75 of a round on average for you to get to each form. So maybe I get to play in Godmight for, like, 10 seconds at the end of round 2 when the game ends, and I'm like, what? But again, you can't make it too good. You can't make it too easy, right? You can't make if you make the base form like too shit, you're gonna end up with like a Lucy problem, right? I'm thinking the Dragon mode would be an install you can spend meter to get into by filling some sort of gauge, and Godmight is a comeback mechanic that you can only access at very low health. They talk about the new mechanic might be if you might be designed around using it. I mentioned it very briefly offhand. We'll talk about that more so afterwards, but I did mention very briefly it is possible that whatever new system mechanic is going to be introduced in 2.6 is going to be, like, very integral to id's kit, right? This is at least, for a completely unrelated example. This is something, for example, that they do very often in, like, Dokkan. You know what I mean? Like, Dragon Ball Gacha. It's like, if they introduce some new system mechanic, the, like, big anniversary headliner character that comes out is usually, like, that is, they're built around utilizing that new mechanic very well. Not necessarily as easy to do in a fighting game where you don't have quite as much leeway to just do whatever the fuck you want and make shit broken. But it could be the case that, maybe Dragon Form is just like a regular SBA install, right? And then Godmight has something to do with the new skill. Or, sorry, the new system mechanic. Maybe, right? Could it be as simple as SBA is just an install and you install again in install? SBAception. It could be. It could be. The problem with that is you'll never get there. Ever. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. It'll never happen. If you like, assuming he has use skills that do anything at all, and they don't like fundamentally shift the way meter is gained, you are never going to just have 200 meter to spend on supers in a round. Ever. If you're winning, if you're losing, it's not gonna happen. Right? Unless you literally do nothing. You have to tweak something, a meter buff or something? Yeah. Or they'd have to make it last across rounds, right? Where you SBA, he goes into Dragon form, and then he stays there for the rest of the game. And then when you SBA again, he goes into Godmite or something, which is why they're adding Chain Shift. Yeah. So, I think it is a very cool idea for a character, but he's a difficult little design problem, right? Double install character is weird. Zan, you bring up a good point of like, what if one of them isn't an install at all, and like Godmite is just like the equivalent of like a Beatrix clock that he gets in base form or something, right? Should have been a woman. That's all I have to say. Sure, valid. The install on top of install seems weird since Dragon mode seems to want different things than base. Yeah. His Godmite mode might be an install too. That's what we're saying. But like, if you have double install, then how do you manage that, right? Like, to me, it seems like if it's a double install, the only realistic way to make that work without, like, either making it a bad mechanic or, like, fundamentally shifting the way the game works is to, and maybe this does make it a bad mechanic, is to make it persist across rounds. Which is, again, very interesting design space, but very risky design space. Could be a separate meter, possibly? Yeah. I mean, that is kind of how it is. That's an interesting idea, because that is kind of how it is in the video game, right? Where, you know, he builds up that Versailles gauge, and then there's like an outer section that appears. So maybe Dragon form you SBA to get into, and then you do like just doing other shit gets you there. Still feels like, again, even aside from that makes it easier, but aside from the meter build, that just takes too fucking long to do anything, right? It's an interesting little design problem. Having Godmite just be like, you know, like Clock or something, where like base id when he gets low enough on health. Because Godmite is a lot less transformative than the Dragon form is, right? Like Godmite is just regular id, but a lot stronger. So it's possible base id is Godmite install, EX id is Dragon install. See my vision. Yes. They just make Godmite a big finisher move at the end of the Dragon form. Maybe that could be true as well. But yeah, like maybe because since Godmite is a lot less transformative, right? After all, again, it is just id, but better, faster, stronger, hits harder, etc. Maybe it's like some sort of low health buff to base it. So it's like, but see, that would feel kind of weird, because then it's like, well, if I get to low health, I don't want to do my Dragon install anymore, you know? But I saw having him be like some kind of weird branching path character like that, like it could be implemented well. But it's like, what? So if I fail to get my Dragon installs base it, I just get this Godmite thing, and I don't want to go Dragon anymore. I definitely puts the fear of God in you, you know. That would be cleaner as far as letting you play with both of the states more often, though, right? I mean, maybe Godmite is the kind of thing that affects Dragon form too. Like if he's in Dragon form and then goes down to 30%, he gets like he de-transforms and gets a buff or something. I'm not sure. Oh, I guess maybe you could have it be something where, like, his SBA is the Dragon install, right? It's like some attack that leaves him in Dragon form after. And, like, his SSBA is a Godmite install? Like, you wouldn't see it very often, but, like, if you hit the opponent with your SSBA and then the round continued from there, you would be in Godmite? I mean, that just makes it such a ignorant-ass comeback mechanic, though, I feel like, right? Like, SBAs are arguably, they could just forego God install in general and make it an SSBA attack? Maybe. I think that'd be a little lame. But that'll be, if you were just like, fuck it, he's not a double install character, he's a single install character, that makes the word problem here, it makes the math problem a lot more tenable, but I think it also makes it a less interesting character overall. But it's possible that they fucking try a bunch of shit and they go, there's just no way to make this, like, fun and balanced and, like, not, like, just not ridiculously broken or something like that, right? Could just have the installed skills on base id or save it for you skills. I mean, again, you could remove one of them entirely. It's true. I was saying something and then I forgot. Oh yeah, like there's already a very good argument that SSBAs are too good of a comeback mechanic already, right? Like SSBAs are too good of a comeback mechanic already. So the idea that he would hit you with an SSBA and then you have to deal with like Giga buffed id, that just feels bad, man. Like like that does not sound like a character who is at all healthy to fight. It'd be a nice bit of DLC privilege, right? That I could see this happening because that'd be like very strong as like a DLC character, but you get to spam you at the beginning of the round to get stocks. When you reach 3 of them, you get God Might. Oh wait, that's someone else. I genuinely don't even know who is. Are you talking about Siegfried? I assume you're talking about Siegfried. It doesn't really sound like Siegfried's gameplay loop, but the closest character I could think of is Siegfried. He's a weird little guy. He's a weird little guy. I kind of want to be a stance character with Dragon Form and God Might being a Sores-esque SSBA install. Yeah. I'm sorry, giving a character an install after SSBA is genuinely something that sounds worse than current state Matera. You don't have to apologize. I agree. Right? Like, again, SSBAs are very arguably too strong already as a comeback mechanic, right? The huge damage, the 2 brave points taken away, all of that. To then add a buff on it as well. So I thought it was funny. Yes, I was thinking about Siegfried. No, you're good. You're good. What was I going to say? Dragon mode. He's a weird one, man. He's a weird one. There's a lot of different ways they could go with him. I imagine he's going to be pretty interesting, right? At the very least, like, he should be interesting to play. If I had to put money on it right now, I don't fucking know. I was like 1 second away from going like, if I have to put money on it right now, he's gonna be a double install character and they'll make it like last between rounds or something. But I don't know if that's true. I see it's way too out there. It might just be like a 5U swaps into Dragon Form and then you go from there and God Might is implemented somehow. It's so weird to find like the character design space to put 2 buffs on this guy, right? Double install sounds even more rancid. No. Trust me. I think the worst thing this could do is that SSBA is like a giga buff for him. No, like that. So far of all the ideas that I've heard or had, that is the worst one by far. Like that is the character that is the like. If you thought you hated Clock before, right? They could lock God Might into this being SBA 2, like Grand's in SSBA range. He does have a different SBA and God Might after all. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like that is the worst possible thing, I think. If you're like, oh, when he gets low on health, his SBA takes 2 brave points away, does more damage, and gives him a stronger buff. I think that is probably the worst. I think that is probably the worst design space you can occupy. Because I mean, think about the game states that character leads to, right? Like, think about how much people already hate dealing with like Beatrix. You know, wrong thing, Mr. Brickster. They could lock God Might into just being SBA 2, like Grand's in SSBA range. He does have a different SBA and God Might after all. Yeah, Grand's in SSBA range, does more damage, takes 2 brave points away, and then doesn't buff him afterwards. Grand can do SBA 2, not SSBA. Yeah, but it's essentially an like it does a little less damage than SSBA. I think more when he's on minimum health, right? It takes 2 brave points away. Like it is an SSBA. It's a second SSBA with a different animation, right? When the opponent's on low brave points, his SBA 2 does more damage than his SSBA. I know what you're talking about. It's still a bad idea, I think. You know? I remember when we were doing the TOD videos, the optimal for Grand when the opponent was on 0 BP was to do his SBA 2, not his SSBA. It is, in all senses of the word, it is just another SSBA. Why not make it like Rock from KOF where he can choose to damage with the super or get the buff? Interesting. I mean, interesting. I feel like the problem with that is it becomes too underpowered by default, I think. But it could be interesting. I don't want to shut things down. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, how do you make it where well, I guess the other question is, how broken do you have to make God Might to make it worth giving up like 8,000 damage? Right? Like if we're saying it's the SSBA. If we're saying it's the SBA, that maybe. Get hit by SSBA into guess for game, for real. It really is this. I did not think I was going to spend this. I thought we were going to talk about id for like 15 minutes and then go talk about the patch, which is what I was more interested in to begin with. But like, I really just don't know how the fuck you make this guy work without just taking, because again, this God here, what's a God Might? Okay, real, you know what? This is good. Just since we've been yapping for a little bit, right? Id, character in Relink. he in the game, he just does all of his little specials and shit, right? As he's doing this, he builds up a gauge for himself. Once that gauge, you'll have to bear. Oh, let me just set this to skill cooldown instant. It'll be way quicker if we do it like this. Depends on how busted the buff would end up being then, yeah. If you want to make it compete with, like, the damage from a super, you're gonna have to go pretty hardcore on that. Excuse me? Bro's fucking chilling up there? Okay, yup. So he does all this, right? He builds up his little good boy gauge there. And then once he's built up his good boy gauge, right, he goes into dragon form. He's a big-ass fucking Bahamut-ass dragon. And then once he's done dragoning your ass, right, he then goes into Godmight, which is basically just like this is the golden great ape to his Super Saiyan 4, if you think about it like that. Oh, you don't get skills don't do it anymore. Gotcha. Oh shit, he does have Beatrix Clock? Just a little bit. Right, and then boom, he de-transforms, and now he's just like a hyper-buffed version of his base state, essentially. This is what a Godmight is. You know what I mean? Power scaling, so true. Yeah, so that's basically it. So, he gets some type of drawback because buff after buff with no type of drawback seems horrible. Like, I would for real quit. Yeah, I feel like you are already assuming this character is going to be broken. I don't know if that's the case. I imagine the drawback will be the base id. The most default drawback to give to this is that base id would not be very good, right? Like, that is the most, generally the way to make this kind of character the most interactable. Is that, like, base id will probably not be amazing, and he would have to, like, win a couple of interactions as base id to get to his dragon form, right? That usually is the way that these drawbacks for these characters work, right? Think of, like, Install Vera is a pretty fucking ridiculous character, and in exchange, base Vera is not great, right? But again, it's just, you can win anything as long as you have a 6/6L. Okay, I think you are just, you're saying things, that's okay, don't worry about it. I think you're in a bad mood, and that's your entirely, it is within your rights. No matter what they do, making this guy install, I just want the BGM to change, like Exert Dragon install. 2 different BGM steals? Maybe. Again, it's maybe you can charge a gauge, use his dragon form, and then spend it to go into Godmight, but only last a few seconds. You could do that. You could have Godmight be like an incredibly limited time buff, right? You could have it be an incredibly limited time buff. Where maybe he can do it at literally any time. I don't know. But hey, he's just gotta, like, do it in a combo. He's just gonna do it when he hits you and, like, double his damage or something. I'm gonna beat you in 5 seconds as buff? Yeah, for real. I don't, again, my problem is, all these, I think a lot of the ideas could be very good, right? It's just, yeah, I don't know. I'm saying Abba Gauge would be a good way to do this. For which one? Because Abba, like, base Abba obviously sucks. She builds up the jealousy gauge through attacking you, and then she can, at will pop it when she has enough, right? And then, jealousy Abba's ridiculous, and it goes away pretty quickly, though. But she can maintain it by, like, hitting you and winning more and doing shit like that, right? Is that a good way to do what? The dragon form or the Godmight? You farm gauge, spend to get into dragon, but when you uninstall, you get Godmight. So it's Abba Gauge, except when she runs out of Jealous Rage, she gets better? I'm late. What have been the moveset ideas for Abba Keeper install forever if she's good with it? So it's Abba, but when she runs out of Jealous Rage, she gets stronger, is what you're saying. Can work like Warwick instead of the Gauntlet install? Godmight can be Nago Blood Pop? I mean, there's a lot of interesting ways to do it. I wish base Abba was ass, at least in Strive. He certainly feels like ass when I was fighting her, but it felt very bad. But when you SBA or SSBA with Gauntlet installed, that's when the Dragon form comes out? Maybe. Stronger but way more fragile would make sense? Possibly. This is a way harder, like, thing to crack than I would have expected. I mean, not even that I'm got to guess what they would do, because obviously that's going to be, like, impossible. But, like, to even just think about something that it's an idea that really seems like it just works. I mean, you could do the thing where one of them... You could do the thing where, like, his dragon form install, like, doesn't cost a meter or something. And then he just, but again, that's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Dragon Form doesn't have to be exclusively better. It could be mid-range to rush down styles rather than an explicit upgrade. I mean, having the thing you have to remember is that they make his U skills more like his God Might version. That might be the grand bluest way to do it, honestly. Like maybe God Might is just a thing that happens on his U skills. It's that's like a little unfortunate, I think, but it might like that is probably the safest way to do that without it being completely lame, right? Without them just removing it or like putting it in only a cutscene or something. Like the U versions of his skills, that would suck. Yeah. But again, it's just like, how do you include both of them, man? Like I'm thinking about it, and like all my ideas have kind of sucked, and all of your guys' ideas have kind of sucked. Like, no offense, but it's like it's so difficult to make a character with 2 different installs and have them be something that you could reasonably access, like, you know, a decent amount of your games, have it be even remotely balanced or fun to play against, right? And like, I mean, not have it, like, required fundamentally changing the mechanics of the video game. What if his God Might finisher was a Deadly Rave? What if they took Wild Assault out of Guilty Gear Strive just to put it in Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising? Oh, wait, I forgot. We already have Wild Assault. It's called 6XL. Crazy. I was crazy once. They locked me in a room. A rubber room with rats. And rats make me crazy. I don't fucking know, man. I actually do. Like, I mean, we've given a lot of ideas. Like, it's not that I can't think of ways to do it, but like, I feel like I don't like any of them. You know? I feel like I don't like, or at least I'm very worried about any of them. Either in regards to the character feeling too stiff, or the character feeling either too strong or too weak. Or it just being, I mean, it could be like completely uncharted territory, which could work out or not, right? Who knows? New mechanic, I mean, and having a separate, like, having them be 2 separate things that are achieved separately, maybe. Other than Vera, I just don't vibe with install characters in this game. I mean, you know, I think they can be done. They're very careful with the installs in Rising too, right? Like, every non-Vera, non-Sora's install is like, they impose like a you can't gain meter for the rest of the fucking round penalty. Some of them are, like, most of them are temporary, right? Making both of them HP thresholds would suck. Probably, right? I have an even worse idea. You start as id. If you win the round, you go into God Might. If you lose, turn into a dragon. Yeah, that is a worse idea. You're right. You're right. It's not even an install issue. It's the fact that he has 3. Yeah. Like, again, it is a matter of the double install. Like, if it was just like, okay, id goes in, like, it has this dragon form. Okay, who cares? Whatever. Like, you can do him like 100 other, like, you know, you can lock it behind something like Sora's. You can do it like Vera, where it's like part of his main game plan is to get there, right? Whatever. That's not hard at all. The problem is that he's got fucking 2, man. The problem is he's got fucking 2. So, like, I don't know what to do with that, right? I don't know much about fighting games. What about pointy dragon mode in timer? And if you don't do enough damage quick enough, you can't go to the other one. Yeah. The main problem with this that I run into, right? I mean, I make him like Susanoo and give him seals to unlock dragon form. What do we do with God Might, man? Right? The guy feeling God Might is it gonna be the SSBA? Like how Sandy only has the white wings in SSBA as well? Maybe. Again, like, that's why when, like, I can't remember, was it Acid who said, like, just make it his U skills or something? That might sound disappointing, but really it might be the only way to, like, something like that where it's just, like, a smaller part of the kit. Especially because, yeah, I think, again, if we're being honest, right, God Might is not really that transformative, right? Like, he is just, right? He is just id, but better. So, there's nothing too, like, it's not like it's like, oh, if they don't put God Might in there, they're gonna miss out on so much, like, cool mechanics or flavor, right? Like, it's just, it doesn't do anything. Like, it's just him, but, like, his stats are buffed. So, like, they could just make it so id's, like, U skills are, like, particularly powerful or something. Maybe, like, the other versions of his skills are a little bit more tame as a result, right? Like, and then there could be a little interplay there where, like, you want to spend the, you wanna spend the meter on, like, your busted ass God Might use skills, but if you save it, you can go to the SBA with Dragon Form, and you might do different things depending on different matchups. Like, that is probably my favorite idea that I've heard so far. Is it a little tame? Yes, right? But I think it's the only way that I have thought of or heard to incorporate both of them that feels like it could actually reasonably create, like, a balanced game state, or at least, like, interesting decision making around it, you know? Like, yeah, I don't know. God might use skills and then Dragon Form install, possibly. So, the idea of making God Might a free skin if you have a skin with a relink save sounds kind of cool. Sounds horrible. What do you mean? Like, it's removing it mechanically from him entirely to make it a thing that if you fucking link your relink save data, you get? You've got to be kidding, right? That sounds like the worst. That might be it, though, honestly. Again, considering the fact that, make God Might a Battle Pass reward? Yeah, like, just remove it from the character entirely? I don't know. God Might is U skills, because it is just id but stronger, and the best thing to represent that is, like, the U skills in Granblue. Like, God Might U skills and then Dragon Form install might be fine, right? You right, my fault. I mean, you're entitled to opinions, but, like, it's like, what, it's like, it's pretty lame. Battle Pass reward, new SSBAs. Yeah, sure, man. Sure, man. Battle Pass reward is id in the fucking Eternals garb. Yeah. I think I'm okay with that idea, honestly. I think it makes a little bit of sense, right? Not gonna lie, I love alternative SSBAs. I mean, if it was just like cinematics, I think that could be cool. I think that could be a pretty cool way to, like, you know, monetize if you had like a free-to-play game anyway, right? Or at least give some sort of Battle Pass reward or something. I'm just scared he'll get a useless install like Fairy. I mean, on the bright side, he might have two of them. But yeah, I think double install is probably not the most reasonable way to take him. The more, like, when I thought about it at first on paper, I was like, double install character, that sounds really fun. And then I tried to get a little deeper into how the fuck you would ever do that and make it work even remotely. And, I mean, maybe, right? Maybe ArcSys/Cygames, maybe they're going to be a little bit more ambitious than I am, but none of them sound like good ideas. So, after a fucking hour of circling the drain and not knowing, with how the game works currently anyway, something like U skills for God Might, SBA, or, you know, whatever install route for Dragon Form, considering Dragon Form is a literal transformation, right? Like, his move set changes, his specials change, right? Like, this one should be the more impactful one, right? And God Might can be relegated to just, like, some buffed versions of his moves. That seems fine. Having to install just makes it too convoluted and hard to manage. Just make God Might SSBA attack similar to Grand's getting his blue hair in one. I mean, if you're saying it has, like, no mechanical benefit, then yeah. That is the safest option, is just make him a single one, but even if that's lame, it's simple and safe. The best compromise between lame and simple and safe that I can see is U skills, right? Maybe id has the option to spend 75 meter on a U skill to make it a God Might version, or something like that. And it's like, it like doesn't refund on block, it costs 75 meter, like, or on hit, costs 75 meter, but it's like really nutty, or it's something, you know? Like, God Might U skills, and then Dragon Form SBA. Or it's just 50 meter U skills as normal, but his U skills are just a little bit more juiced, and his regular skills are a little bit more subdued. Is there an argument against making one SBA and the other SSBA? Yes. If God Might was an install that got activated by SSBA, it would probably be the most toxic mechanic ever put in this game. It will be Beatrix Delta Clock on steroids, right? Like, SSBAs are already too good of a comeback mechanic, probably, right? 6,000 damage, usually it could be even more if you get hit with 2 BP or less, right? Huge BP shift, a safe jump, and, like, you know, it kills you most of the time. Imagine if then, after that, he also just became, like, install Vera. Like, that would be one of the most toxic play patterns we've ever seen, I think, right? So I would really... that would probably be my least favorite option, is that, like, oh yeah, he just hits his SSBA, and then he gets twice as fast and strong. Right? That shit would be not good. I think Dragon was SSBA because it looks cooler. Is God Might the better one in Relink? God Might is the better one in Relink, yes. But also, even if it wasn't, right? Like, even say, okay, you want to make the Dragon Form. Regardless, a SSBA, like, installing you and doing damage is just too good, right? It's too strong. It's not balanced. Do we just nuke the install after SSBA idea entirely? What are you so mad about, man? Yeah, we agreed it's bad. One person was just asking. You're like you are just not in a good mood today, Aeon. My God. Yes, I agree. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea, right? It should not. It should not happen. Anyways, since we're going around in circles, I think we're called there for the id discussion, right? Again, some amount of playing around with his U skills seems right. Is being mad is just not wanting more bullshit in this already bullshit game? Yeah, you're not mad. You just sound like very unhappy, right? Fair enough. Mad is the wrong word. You're just like very unhappy in like everything you say. Has like a tinge of just like bitterness to it. Like every word that comes out of your keyboard. Can make the dragon like strives heavy mob cemetery. Like a bad super? Is that the one where this is the command grab super? What do you think of the new mechanic will be? Yeah. Id, use skills for Godmight. Dragon install for SBA sounds the best, right? I think if you try to do a double install thing, it's a little too hard. Since he's the only relink character, he could also have relink mechanics. They could just go fuck it, he's 2B, like very different, but yeah. Anyways, in other words, terminally online, something like that. That is all. That is all. Again, we can talk about the mechanic now, because so we can get id out of here. There is a little bit of overlap, right? There is a little bit of overlap with the discussion of id here too, right? Because new system mechanic, it could be that whatever it is pretty related to that there. How did I end up on Esco? What the fuck? That's insane. Okay. I'd alt tab to relink. Everything you do while you're alt tabbed goes to like the controllers still go here, and somehow we ended up in the guest book on Eskaoof on his account profile. You know, some things are just meant to be, I guess. Some things are just meant to be. That's fine. But yeah, so we could this is, I mean, this is even more. This is relink, right? Yeah, that game was relink. This is Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, as you may be familiar with. So new system mechanic and adjustments to system mechanics, right? I hate that near Gooter guy. It certainly is odd and uncomfortable. And potentially awful. So here's the deal, right? So there's a couple of things to talk about here in terms of mechanic. One, new system mechanic. Two, adjustments to system mechanics, right? Character adjustments, who knows, right? I assume this is going to be a rather large patch, but I say that just the fact that a new system mechanic is being introduced at all already means it's a big patch, right? Even if there's not a ton of character adjustments that come out of this, right? Even if there's not a ton of character adjustments that come out of this, that by itself is going to make the game feel very different before and after, right? Just this line by itself, and you include this one too. Adjustments to system mechanics, we can talk about that real quick, because I feel like that is, you know, it's been talked about at length, right? If we're gonna do multiples, obviously the big thing that I think is like the most desperately in need of a change is this needs to not hard knockdown anymore, right? I hope, I know everyone really, well, I feel like how much you complain about 6XL and Brave, like versus Brave counter is like directly correlated to how much you play this game. I feel like the more you play this game, the more you probably want Brave. Like if you had to pick one, you probably would pick BC to be nerfed over 6XL. I'll tell you that like Brave counter is significantly stronger than 6XL in the current iterations, I think, right? I main Matera, I need BC. You don't need anything because you main Matera. So I kind of have no idea what a new system mechanic could be. We'll see. But yeah, so like Brave counter needs to not hard knockdown on counter hits. It has needed to do this for probably 2 years. In you know, everyone has kind of been in staunch agreement that it shouldn't for at least one, right? Like it's just unfair that I'm running offense, right? And then you can go. You counter hit me. Sometimes there's not even too much I can do about that. Like if I'm a character that relies on special moves for pressure or something, it's like, well, I just got counter hit. And then not only, I mean, it's one thing to be like, all right, well, you spent this resource and now my turn's over. Okay, fine, right? Very powerful. But like the game is designed around every character having it short. We can have a very powerful system mechanic. It's another thing that because you use this very powerful system mechanic, not only is my turn over, it's yours now. A large contingent of characters can hard knockdown Brave counter you like this into a side swap super jump safe jump. For getting Brave countered, not only is your turn a turn over, you are now in the corner, you can't DP on wake up, and you're eating plus frames, right? That is just not okay. That shit is not cool. Not Matera though, stay safe. Unironically, can she? I bet you should get, well, I guess she probably just hop over you and then get the whole fucking screen back and you lose anyway, right? Is there another system mechanic we want nerfed, or is it just BC hard knockdown? So that's the big one, right? This is like, if this is not in this patch, I get very, very sad. Like, for them to put adjustments to system mechanics in the thing there as an advertisement and not change this would genuinely make me wonder if they really know what is like going on, right? Make Raging Strike rail? Raging Strike's really good. What are you talking about? Raging Strike is very good. It's as Raging Strike is as good as it can be without being entirely centralizing around how offense and combos are run in this game. The other thing is 6XL, right? Assuming, right? If they kept the hard knockdown, changed the recoveries, you just couldn't safe jump side swap anymore, be okay. I mean, the side swap is the most. If we have to chip away at it, the side swap is the most egregious part, right? The safe jump is probably the second most egregious part, right? Like, the fact that you get a safe turn to start with after is pretty silly, right? I mean, if you make it, like, if you keep the hard knockdown, but make it so you can't get a safe jump or a side swap, you basically have removed the hard knockdown, right? Like, the hard knockdown becomes essentially moot. You make it so I can't backtech, I guess. So it might matter in, like, certain, like, very quick Oki setups, but my take for the past 2 years, Brave mechanics weigh too heavily for the finite cost they have. I always wanted the effect of RSRC BC to be lesser, but grant more opportunities to gain Brave points back, such as landing ults to gain 1 point. I don't really agree with most of this. I think the cost of using your Brave points is very high, and in fact, the better the mechanics get, the higher the cost of spending them, right? But they are still a little overtuned, right? Like, I disagree with the idea that they don't cost enough. The Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising is entirely, like, almost entirely a resource management game once you get to high enough level, right? Sometimes even getting your opponent to, they might change what BC costs, making it take meter, sure. If you want the system mechanics to be weaker and more spammable, I think that's also more annoying. If your point is that, let's make it so you can get 4, 5, 6, 7 Brave points in a round, but the mechanics are a lot weaker. I mean, if you were sick of getting Brave countered before, right? Wait, did I misread your message? My Brave mechanics weigh too heavy for the finite cost they have. Way too heavy for the finite cost they have. I don't know what that means. He wants lower cost and lower rewards too. The meter refill could be nerfed as well. I always wanted the effect to be lesser, but grant more opportunities to gain Brave points back. I guess that is what you said. Such as landing ults to gain 1 point. Yeah, I don't know if I want them to happen more often. Personally. Right? I do think there's an interesting resource game to having to manage your Brave points. Right? Like the fact that if you use these incredibly strong system mechanics, you do just die eventually, right? I think if they were just not impactful enough that it wouldn't, like, that you could have 6 of them or something, right? I said way heavily, I did include the fact they're overtuned. I see what you mean now, I still disagree. Because, like, I think the idea that, like, let's make them bad enough that you could get, like, 6 per round and, like, it wouldn't be ridiculously broken, I think just kind of... They probably do not outweigh, because you have to remember that these system mechanics, like using Brave counter is something that is like in direct competition with like fuzzy mashing or like DPing or something like that, right? If you make it bad enough that it's okay to have like, I mean, you can already have 4 sometimes now, right? If you make it bad enough that it's okay to have like 5 or 6, then they probably just stop getting used by and large, right? I mean, maybe if you want them removed from the game, I guess that's fair, but I don't think that's an interesting way to change them personally. But anyway, Brave counter, right? Brave counter. I think like the soft knockdown Brave counter, by the way, is still very good, right? Like, that shit is still good. Don't get me wrong, but like this is sort of okay, right? This is sort of okay. Like the fact that this like, yes, a lot of characters can maybe get like 6XL pressure or something, but like, you know, that can be like DPable, that can be vulnerable to reversals, right? In some cases, depending on spacing, like if you get BC'd from like really far away, a lot of characters can't even do that, so you can like play around with the spacing that you poke at to make BC a little weaker. This soft knockdown BC is still very strong, right? But it is significantly more play-aroundable, right? Interactable, dealable. The power level of it is just way lower. Still very good. This by itself, without the hard knockdown, is still one of the best guard cancels in video game. I mean, it's the best guard cancel in a fighting game that I can think of off the top of my head, at the very least, right? Like, this is still, like, a lot better than, like, any version of, like, YRC that I can think of in my relatively limited Guilty Gear experience, to be fair. Or, the one that happens on block, YRC, yeah. So, it's probably fine to just get rid of the counter hit entirely, I think. I don't think we have to give anything back to the mechanic either. If we're going to do that, right? If we're going to do that, I think that 6XL could then get some nerfs as well. I don't think 6XL is quite as awful as some people make it out to be after like the several rounds of nerfs that it's gotten. I've seen some people say make it more whiff punishable, right? It's got 25 frames of recovery. If you want to add more, I guess that's fine, right? But really for me, I feel like the place where 6XL feels a little too smothering is in the corner. If you've been around for a while, I've been talking about this a lot, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating this. But this is it's just a little too good as like a pressure option in the corner, right? The fact that one, it doesn't get hard knockdown BC, for example, makes it pretty safe to just throw into your opponent, right? Obviously it's plus, and in general, there's been a lot of speculation on this. I think 6XL, like taking the hard knockdown off of BC is a huge nerf, right? But very deserved. BC is broken right now. I think 6XL, we could use some still significant, but like slightly less heavy-handed changes to this, right? In conjunction with a Brave counter nerf, because you don't want to nerf. You always, in my opinion, maybe this is something that you know, some people will get a little PTSD'd by, especially if we're talking like, you know, if we're thinking about like, you know, recent 3D fighting games and how this may have gone a little too overboard. But in my opinion, I think you always want to be more generous to offensive mechanics than defensive mechanics, right? Like if one of our mechanics has to be a little overtuned, I would much rather it would be the plus on block neutral skip than the guard cancel, right? Because when defensive mechanics get too good, the game becomes about not doing anything. When offensive mechanics are too good, it can still be very frustrating, certainly, but at least we're still, you know, the correct thing to do is go over there and kill the guy. Anyway, so 6XL, after like several years, 2 years of discussion at this point, and you know, just about counting, I think the most reasonable changes that I've heard is one, I will always credit this to Gabagool. It might not sound like a lot, but it's a pretty big deal. 6XL currently has a clash level of 1, which means that if Jita far L's and I 6XL, it's maybe kind of hard to get to actually work here. There you go. My 6XL clashes with her far L, right? And if I 2L, if she 2Ls and I far L, right? I definitely like some defensive mechanics to have tangible effects. Looking at you, spot dodge. Spot dodge is really fucking good. What the hell are you talking about? Spot dodge? You want spot dodge buffed? You want the frame 1 on command 25 frames of invuln? That you can like Kara cancel the startup of your normals into? You want that to be better. If you had said roll, I mean, I would have, like, I still disagree, right? I still disagree heavily. Roll's very good, but like, you want this buffed? How? Like, how would you suggest this get better? Remove the recovery frames? Make it unpunishable? I'm sorry, I know I'm a little animated today. I know. I apologize if that was rude. But like, yeah, that like stun lock. How do you want this to be better? Just remove Zoe completely if you're buffing spot. How do you buff? Like, literally, how do you buff spot dodge without making it unpunishable? It's got 4 recovery frames at the end that are counter hit. I suppose you could get rid of those? Right? I don't blame you. I'm just like, how does it get... Like, literally, what would be a proposed buff for spot dodge besides it does damage now or something? You know? Anyway, but we're not doing that. 6XL. I've loved the suggestion that Gabagool once gave me to make it clash level 0, right? So that means that in this case right here, it would get crushed by the far L, right? It'll get crushed by the far L, and if she stuck a 2L out, it would clash with that. So if the opponent was just kind of like standing around here, because a lot of characters will do this, right? Because of how good 6XL is and the threat of 6XL, a lot of characters will just kind of stand out here, right? And then they can just at any point decide boom, right? And then they can transition from this like mid-range offense, right, to this close-range offense very, very quickly with 6XL, or they can just stick around and poke if they're like, you know, if you're too concerned with trying to use something to beat 6XL. So if 6XL's clash level is 0, it means that it's a lot riskier to just charge in like this, right? Almost like there's nothing that you will beat 6XL in, right? I want 6XL to be +1 instead of +2, so it's easier to stop using it multiple times. I don't know about that one. I think that's a little bit of a massive, like, huge, monumental change, probably. I think it being +2 is fine, right? Personally. With giving it more pushback on block, help relieve corner pressure, would that indirectly buff some characters too much? They've done this already. I feel like that would probably, I don't know if that would solve any problems, like, universally, you know what I mean? That would certainly hurt some characters more than others. If you gave 6XL too much pushback on block, it's like, it just becomes a spacing trap. They already increased the pushback on it quite a bit. If you like did what they did again, it just becomes a way for characters with good buttons to be plus on block and have a spacing trap on characters with bad buttons, right? So let me just keep going here. So Clash level 0, I think is nice, right? Just makes it a lot more reasonable to try and like fuzzy mash or mash out, right? The other thing I think that is 6XL being just like a good pressure tool is what it's there to do, right? Like it is there to be a good pressure tool that lets, you know, it is oppressive, right? But like it's like it is a strong offensive system mechanic, and I'm okay with that by and large, right? However, something that 6XL does very well, which I feel like it maybe shouldn't, is anti-air people. I don't know why it does, but it does. Like, why is it such a good anti-air? You know? Like, it's an anti-air that often will convert into, like, a full combo, right? Because of how the other system mechanic... Oh, let's see, this isn't base Grand. I tried to boot there, I couldn't boot. It's an anti-air that, like, often converts into, like, a full combo, right? It probably shouldn't do this, I think. Like, like, I'm okay in the same way that, like, you know, on a character level, for example, I'm okay with Vasaraga, when he takes you to the corner, he should absolutely rip you in half. And if he hits you, you should go to hell, right? I'm very okay with Voss being the highest damage character in the game who isn't Matera. That's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Obviously, on average, Voss will do more damage than Matera. Right? I'm very okay with Voss hitting you like a truck. Voss probably shouldn't be as good in neutral as he is, right? His U-Fireball shouldn't be as good at neutral as it is. His buttons probably shouldn't be as good at neutral as they are. His defense should probably be even worse than it currently is, right? Like, I'm very okay with something that is designed very clearly to be specialized to being really good at something, be really good at something, right? 6XL is a very, like, a system mechanic that is designed to be centralizing, and, you know, fair, I can understand if you don't like that, but that is fine, right? It's a strong neutral skip. It's a very strong pressure tool. I'm fine with those things. I don't feel like it should be an anti-air, especially as good of an anti-air as it is, right? Like it is oftentimes, like, genuinely, this shit is, like, better for anti-airing than, like, 2Hing a guy sometimes. Because of just the speed, the horizontal carry, everything. At least, I think this thing should be air blockable, right? At the very least, I think 6XL should be air blockable. You can go even more heavy-handed with this if you want. I think there's a very solid argument for making it so 6XL is not only air blockable, but also, if it is air blocked, it's minus. I think that would actually be valid, right? Like, if a 6XL is air blocked, it's like -1 or something like that. I think could be pretty solid. Or maybe you just lower, like, universally, you lower the, like, you just cut off the top half of all 6XL hitboxes so that it still doesn't make any difference at all on someone who's on the ground, right? But it will, but it, like, almost removes its ability to hit someone who's even remotely in the air, right? Make it so you just can't combo from 6XL unless counter hit. On an air move, you could do that, I suppose, right? You could do that. But yeah, this also would lead to, you know, this would lead to, like, jumping out of the corner to be a, you know, much more effective, like, high risk, if you've played this game for any amount of time, right? Like, just, like, doing this at a guy who's Grand Blue zoning, especially, I feel like right here could be a little better, right? But, like, you know, if a guy is standing here and you jump at them, right? This is very much asking for potentially your entire fucking life to end, right? Getting anti-aired in Grand Blue is a scary time. This is not even this, like, the world's worst EX Grand combo, right? But that was even counter hit. So, like, it's a high risk option, but if 6XL is entirely air blockable, or if he even can't hit you if you're in the air or something akin to that, then at least becomes a pretty easy way to maybe, like, you can also represent that as a way to get out, right? Leaves it so you can't. 6XL isn't just the pressure tool that you use for everything. It'll still be the pressure tool that you use for almost everything, right? It'll still be, like, the best thing to do against a guy who's just sitting there. Absolutely, right? And it'll still be fast enough that, like, it's pretty risky to just, like, even if it's Clash level 0, it'll still be pretty risky to just, like, poke out with a far L, right? If you're a couple of frames late, you are still just gonna get counter hit by the 6XL into a full combo, right? From all the way over here, right? So it'll still be very good for, like, that sort of, symbiotic relationship with just, like, far normals in the Grand Blue Zone, right? You can still do this if you want. It's still a really good way to tap the glass and, like, reset pressure and, like, force someone into matching and then kill them, right? But it's also meant to combo period from 6XL unless counter hit. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's. I think that is a nerf to. I think that is a nerf to worse characters by and large, right? I think if you make it so you can't combo from 6XL unless counter hit, all you are, like, the people you are hurting with that are not the characters you want to hurt. The people you are hurting with that is by and large like bad characters who have no real better options, usually, right? I think that is not a good idea to make it so that the system mechanic is, for better or for worse, you can certainly argue this is for worse, right? But for better or for worse, the system mechanics being as strong as they are mean that the power gaps between characters can never get too big, right? If you make 6XL, and this is what, you know, this is what it was before the restricted patch. 6XL wasn't worse, but like the power level of that 6XL was not the same for all characters. If you make it so that, you know, that system mechanic is a lot weaker, all that leads to is now the better characters feel even better than the worst characters because they don't all have this, you know, this boom that helps close up this gap a little bit, right? Learning the Clash level also helps it stop it anti-airing so much. Yeah, it would lose to more things, for sure. It would lose to everything. It would clash with JLs, right? So yeah, those are, I don't think the biggest nerfs in the world to 6XL, but I think they get rid of some of the things that I feel like it maybe shouldn't be as good at doing, right? I think 6XL beats smashing a little too much. Like, in the sort of Grand Blue Zone symbiosis, I imagine that, you know, 6XL is there to punish the guy who stands still, and then boom, now you have to deal with the strike throw situation, because I 6XL do, right? And this is like the, oh, right, this is the frame trap. This is like the, oh, you were a little impatient, right? Boom, get smacked into a full combo, into whatever. 6XL does a little too much of both of those things right now, right? I'd like if it was a little worse at stopping the guy who wasn't standing still, right? And do that through two ways. Make the clash level 0 so that most matches will beat it, and some will clash, and you have a lot more leeway at the end of the day having to match, like, knowing that your far L will beat 6XL. In Gia's case, for example, it's a 2-frame difference, right? This really can be the difference between getting hit and like winning and losing a game, straight up, right? And it just makes the guy 6XLing in the first place a little bit more hesitant to do so because of the risk associated. So clash level 0 and make it at the very least air blockable. Maybe this is a little bit heavy hand, or not heavy, it's ugly design, right? But if you made it so that 6XL like literally didn't hit people who were airborne or something, right? Like just, you know, like either by shrinking the verticality of the hitbox so much that like it doesn't really work anymore, or by literally introducing some sort of thing where it couldn't hit them. But I think that's too ugly. I don't think I actually want that. Make it air blockable, and possibly, if it's air blocked, change the way it recovers so that maybe it's even, right? Maybe it's -1. Hard to say. But like if the advantage on air block is worse than the advantage on ground block. I think if you do those two things, is it still really strong? Yes, but I think I'm okay with that. I think some of the dumber stuff where I'm like, why does 6XL even do this in the first place, goes away a little, right? On to other things, onwards and upwards. Turns out I could talk about 6XL and Brave Counter for longer than I thought, even though it's been a year. How about more whiff recovery? You could do that. Can I be real with you? Maybe this is just, I feel like I see 6XL gets like either whiff punished, or at the very least you lose your turn for whiffing a 6XL neutral like a decent amount of the time already, right? Now, to be fair, maybe people are playing around it very heavily, right? So that's why that happens, and like certainly at the lower levels this is not the case at all, right? But you could do it. I don't know if you need to do it. I want 2H to be air blockable to make air approaches more interesting. Strengthening air approaches could also allow the Blanc to be a little bit more heavy-handed with nerfing some ground approaches. I do not like that, I think. I don't think I like that. Yeah. I think it is nice. I think that this game has enough powerful ways to get right in your opponent's face without buffing jumping. You know what I mean? Now, I guess, yes, if you want to buff jumping and then, like, nerf everything else very heavily, like, nerf all the grounded approaches very heavily, then I guess that could be a way to go about it. But, like, you can't have I don't think you can have 6XL anywhere even close to its current form with air blockable anti-airs. Like, universally air blockable 2Hs and shit. I feel like that, like, listen, for some people, this might be a funny take. I think Grand Blue is, unironically, a pretty fun, like, footsies-based game as you get higher up in playing it, yes? But a big part of that is because going up in the air is so fucking risky, right? Yes, the 6XL bulldoze that sometimes, absolutely, right? But still, like, this just becomes, like, a pretty powerful option within that neutral RPS, is like, I have to play around this, right? So again, you could make it, the neutral base footsies the FGC is known for? I think it is, right? I think it is, like, I genuinely, like, at the end of the, like, when you fight good enough players, the difference becomes spacing, right? It becomes like literally knowing your opponent's spacing, walking around it, right? Whiff punishing, stuff like that, like how well you can compete, you can convert off those whiff punishes, right? Hit confirms. Like, I know, like, to the average Grand Blue player, I think they're like, Grand Blue footsies, 6XL, whatever Twitter opinion they read earlier today. But like, it kind of just is, man. I don't know. It kind of is, right? Even if 6XL is a very strong offensive option in that, like, sort of footsies mind game, right? Well, if you could immediately air tech if you get anti-air by a 6XL, maybe. You have to give everybody a meterless DP if you made 2H air blockable. That is true. You have to make the DPs air blockable too, maybe. Not being on Twitter has saved me so much grief. I just like this game. Me too, man. Me too. But yeah, so I don't know. The first time someone backdashes your 6 skull into far H, you learn this is a footsie game. Yeah. You could give it more whiff recovery. I don't think that's an insane idea, right? Just to be very clear. I don't think that, you know, right now 6XL has, is it 25 total frames? Yeah. It's got, is it 15? It used to have 10 frames of recovery, and now it has 15. Is that right? I think so, right? Because it's 8 frame startup, 3 frame, 3 active frames, and then 15 recovery. Yeah. You could make it like 30 recovery frames, 30 total frames. You can make it like 20 or something. I don't think that's like a crazy idea, but I think it's not necessarily needed, right? Making 6XL have an earlier extended hurt box to help stop it, that could be interesting, right? That could be interesting. You could go soft knockdown instead of hard knockdown, and then take some time to see how the meta shifts and which characters get affected the most. Wait, what are we talking about? Talk about for counter hit BC? These base mechanics changes have a lot of consequences, yes, but I think hard knockdown on BC is one of those mechanics that fundamentally is unhealthy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, like, if it disproportionately hurts some characters to get their hard knockdown BC taken away, we can give those characters a little bit of a buff or something. But it's like, hard knockdown on BC is a mechanic that I think should not be in the video game. Like, is just not healthy. It is not healthy at all, right? To have that shit happen. The Satokai Teo lose. Rest in peace. Gonna have the range of some 6XLs. Zoe? The range of 6XLs is by and large, sometimes hitboxes differ. You could certainly close out some of the more outstanding ones, right? Like, make some of the hitboxes a little bit smaller, some of the hurt boxes a little bit bigger, things like that. But I think by and large, it's determined by initial dash speed, right? But you could tone down some of the more egregious standouts, I think. But for me, I'm kind of okay with 6XL being quite good. A bigger extended hurt box on startup, that is interesting, right? You do have to keep in mind that these do compound quite a bit. So if you're going to lower 6XL's clash level, and you're going to make it not be able to anti-air, and then you're going to make it extend the hurt box out bigger, it makes it supremely, like, start to be pretty supremely weak to mashing, right? Maybe that's okay, but this is the kind of thing where, you know, in the vein of, these base mechanics changes have a lot of consequences, like someone said in the YouTube chat. In that vein, I think 6XL, we can start with some slightly smaller changes, and then if it still feels too big, we can do that, right? But I don't know if we need quite all of that. Again, this might be blasphemy to some people to go, you know, not too much on 6XL, but kind of not too much on 6XL. Can you standardize instant 6XL without messing with initial dash data too much? I mean, the difference is, like, outside of, like, the biggest gap, like, outside of, like, Galleon and Seox, the differences are already pretty, like, they're pixels, right? Like, outside of, like, the difference between, like, Vasaraga or Galleon's instant 6XL and, like, Seox's instant 6XL, the differences already aren't too big. Though some, again, so it's not just dash speed. Some of them do have slightly better hitboxes. Some of them do have slightly better hurt boxes. Things like that, right? That's why some characters have, like, the BC safe ones and shit. That probably needs to go away for sure, by the way. 6XLs that can be spaced out to be, like, BC safe probably does need to not happen. I think there's, like, 3 characters that do that, but wouldn't lowering the clash level mean it wouldn't anti-air as much? I at least don't want to nerf 6XL so much that I can't do it in combos. Well, you can do it in combos, right? It's air blockable. How does it being air blockable stop you from doing it in combos? Right? I mean, I guess in, like, you catch someone with Zoe Dragon Laser and you 6XL in to air unblockable them, like, I guess that it could hurt certain setups, but I think that's probably fine. I think that's maybe a valid sacrifice, right? I'm totally fine with just making the clash level lower and making that shit air blockable. I don't think we have to go too much harder, personally. Speaking of backdashes, what if they gave them iframes on startup like other Arc System Works games? It makes them too strong, but sounds kind of fun. Probably too strong, yeah. I'll tell you though, we're not done, right? Brave Counter and 6XL are obviously the system mechanics that get the most talk in Grand Blue, but there's a lot more, right? This will not be under new system mechanic. It will still be under adjustment system mechanic. But, you know, something like Just Block, right? Just Block, some of you might not even know that this is a fucking thing, realistically, right? Just Block, all that Just Block does is I think give you 1% meter, maybe 2, for just blocking something. Like, whereas normally I might, like if I block this, I'll go to 74. If I just block it, I get 2, right? I think it gives you 1% extra meter compared to blocking it normally, right? This is better than you think, right? Certainly in certain matchups, this is actually quite nice, especially characters that have big multi-hits on block. Who is a good example of this? Who is a good example of a character that has, like, I mean, Lance Rekka, maybe? Yeah, like, Lance Rekka is probably a decent example of this. Like, say you block Lancelot, you Rekka, right? I can kind of... Oh, I'm ass. Hold. Wait, I'm ass. You can kind of just match your just blocks out, and you just, like, build a lot of... Maybe Lance is not quite slow enough, or not, the hits aren't quite fast enough. But basically, multiple just blocks here can very much just land you a bunch of extra meter for free, right? I guess Lowain, like, Catabot is probably the easiest one, right? Lance is actually a little too slow. Uno's, like, Spinning Spear or something. Yeah, Lucy Fireball, yeah. Things where the hits are a little quicker. You can basically just start... Yeah, see, exactly. Yeah, like that. Right there, right? You see that? I can just mash back while I'm blocking this, and I just make, like, double the meter that I would normally. Right? This is actually quite nice. There's no skill with this either. Like, as soon as I'm blocking it, I just start mashing back as fast as I can. Right? Probably better to even just do this on the D-pad, too. You can probably mash a little quicker. Yeah. Right? So, this already does something. This does already do something. Meter is huge in this game. Yes, it's easy to come by, but it's also broken, right? Everything good to do in this game, besides Brave Counter, costs meter. So, getting a little bit more, able to hold back and spam down. Actually... No, I don't think so. It does seem like you have to hit back, but yeah, you can get a lot, like, you know, not just blocking at all here, right? I got him with, you know, 73% meter, and I just blocked a couple times accidentally there because I'm the GOAT. I end up with 74 versus if I spam just block, right, I can end up with 80. So it's like you get 100 times more meter. This is already nice in certain cases. However, it is definitely not like the most impactful system mechanic in the video game. I do kind of like the idea of just block. Maybe not even removing chip entirely, because I think they'll disproportionately punish a few, some characters way more than others, right? But I do like the idea of just block maybe saving you from chip kill, because that is, like, a lot of the times, because the problem with making it remove chip entirely is, like, again, with something like this, like, it's doing chip to me the whole time I'm blocking it, right? And after the first hit, there's no skill to just mashing back. That just makes the game annoying, I think. But that first hit, just blocking that first hit, that is skillful, right? Like, that's the kind of thing you can fuck up. Like, I can try and do this, be a little too late or too early, fail the just block, or just get hit, right? That first hit, which is the thing that would chip kill you if you were already on 1 HP, right? Just blocking that, actually pretty tough. So, I might like the idea that, it'd be a little weird to implement, I guess. It'd be a little weird to implement, but either, like, if you make it negate all chip, you could make it a proper 1 frame window. Like, I guess, yeah, you can make it so you can't just do this. Like, where... That is also an option, yeah, is that all of these multi-hits would also be equally as hard to just block as the first one. It is, I think it's a 3 or 2 frame window right now. It's definitely not 1. But you could make all of them, like, where you can't just spam it. Like, if you do it too early, there's a lockout on it or something. You know what I mean? And the only thing that stops that lockout from happening is if the input was a successful just block. You could do something like that. So where you have to end up just, like, fucking Daigo parrying that shit. But how exactly to implement this could definitely be interesting. But again, I like the idea that this would save you, not negate chip necessarily, but save you from dying on chip. Like, maybe if you just block a special move, here's how you could do this. If you just block the first hit that makes contact, the first hit of a special move that makes contact with your block, the rest of it does no chip. Does that make sense? I think that could make sense. So, like, it negates chip, but only if you just block that first hit. If you don't, all the rest of these, like if I just like hold back and do this, these just give meter as they currently do. But if the first hit that makes contact with my block, not the first hit of the move, because that'd be really weird with like whiffs and meaties and shit. But if the first hit that makes contact with my block is just blocked, I become immune to chip for the rest of it, right? If it reduces slash stops chip, you could make multi-hits only just blockable if the first hits. Yeah. Is Dust Loop lying to say it's an 8-frame window? It might be, honest. I don't know. It is certainly not very hard, right? 8 seems maybe a little generous, but maybe. Like if you're focusing on it in the moment, like you certainly there's a pretty decent window where you could do it. That also count for moves like Belial HDP or that require 2 just blocks? It's a good question. I'm not sure. That move counts as 2 separate moves for chip. I think if it's not a true block string, it would require 2 separate just blocks probably, right? Because the way like we don't want to change the way the mechanic currently works. The way chip currently works is that a true block string of chip damage can only kill you if the first hit was gonna kill you. Like for example, if I'm on like barely any HP, and the first hit of Uno Spiral Spear puts me on chip, it doesn't do quite enough, but you get the idea. Maybe like 1%, right? If I get put on chip halfway through this, yeah, it doesn't kill me, right? But now that I'm on 0 HP, the next time anything does chip to me, it kills me. And if this was 2 separate things, if it was 2 separate hits, and like there was a gap between them, and one of them put me on chip, the other one could kill me. They want you to have some kind of interaction to get away with it, right? Like something like Belial DP, because it is not a block string, it probably would require 2 just blocks, which certainly, I mean, Belial continues winning, right? That would help so much, BC. That would help so much because Zoe DP fucks you up. Unless you DP her DP, you can't even just frame spot dodge it. Yeah, I think that would be a nice way. One, it will be incredibly, like, the reason I like this mechanic, the idea of this mechanic, is, doesn't it just sound fucking hype? Like, think about it for a second. Think about, like, this is something that my ass is not going to do on command. You're not going to, like, to just block the first, maybe you make the window, if it is 8 frames, maybe you make the window a little smaller, like 6 or something, right? It would almost basically remove checkmates, but only if you were good, right? Yes, but only if you were good. And then it would also involve like timing mix-ups from like maybe, you know, if I did it as soon as possible, it'd be a checkmate. But because I'm expecting you're gonna try and just block it, I do like my GG a little later or something like that. So it doesn't hit you on the first frame you're up. So technically it's fake, but because you were trying to just block, now you're dead. This sounds like a very interesting mechanic, right? And it's entirely like optional. Like the game is still entirely balanced with chip kills working as they are. But if you're really good, right? Making sure I understand rising checkmates. Yeah, no, I know. I'm saying you are right. It's like if you had a TAS, you could never die to chip ever again. Yes. So checkmate or not, if you had a TAS, you'd be immune from chip death. Which I mean, you can still get hit and die, right? You can still get hit and die. So to me, this seems like that is a really, really cool mechanic because it is incredibly like it's very skillful. It's not easy to do, especially if we're gonna do this, we're gonna make it that strong. If you're on chip, you can't spot dodge and then you're talking about you're talking about Zoe DP. Yeah, I got you. If you know, like it's very skillful, especially if we're gonna do that. Maybe it needs to go from 8 frames to like 6 or 5 or something, right? And it doesn't like warp the balance of the game really. Like even if chip kills, say everyone gets so fucking good at just blocking that chip kills are not a thing anymore. One, I feel like that's awesome. Right? Like, that's not the kind of thing this is gonna happen, right? I thought that's cool. And also, it's like, it's fine. You still hit the guy and kill him. You can still strike throw him and he loses, right? I don't know if I want more RPS scenarios, but you're pretty hype. You don't want more 2 frames, I think, if chip kills are negated. Maybe. I think it's a lot harder to just, like, especially, like, think about it this way, right? Don't think about, like, waking up into Fairy or something like that, right? Think about, like, trying to just block that or something like that, right? You already have to factor reacting when you're trying to avoid chip. You already have to factor like reacting to the thing. I think it's like even if it was like a 5 or 6 frame window, I think this is way harder than you think, right? Like this is way harder than you think, right? To just like go like a 5 frame window is generous, but you aren't just sitting there in training mode waiting for it to come up and hitting the 5 frame window. You're playing neutral at the same time, right? You could make it 2, but I think that makes it probably too hard, right? So. I like this definitely only on chip death. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it should negate chip. You shouldn't be able to die of chip if you just block the first hit of a move that touches your block, right? Pop on the side too. Fate Defied or something. I feel like that's hype. That does sound really cool. Imagine some motherfucker just defends Lil Human Pyramid to kill. That'd be so hype. Yeah, right. I think this will be an incredibly fun mechanic that literally no one except high-level players would ever use ever, right? Compared to other just blocks that are stronger with smaller windows. Yeah. But keep in mind, right? In other games, like, you know, in Strive, there's no timing at all. You just hit 2 buttons and you faultless defense, right? But in other games, you don't have Brave counter, right? Like, yes, Grand Blue Just Defend is always going to be weaker than other games Just Defense, and it should be, because we have Brave counter in this game, which we don't need other really good defensive mechanics. You know what I mean? Which is why I like the idea of, like, this buff to... this buff, I'm surprised JD isn't better. I'd be forgetting it's in the game sometimes. I am not surprised it isn't better. Imagine if Just Defend was really good and we had BC in the game. How the fuck do you pressure anyone ever? Right? Like, nah, man. So, you don't want too many good defensive mechanics. But I think that this Just Defend change is, like, personally, to me, it's like the best of all worlds. It doesn't make defense too strong, right? It creates, obviously BC needs to be nerfed. Even if you nerf BC, it's still, any version of BC with a competent Just Defend is too much, right? Like, even if you completely remove the hard knockdown from BC and make it punishable on spot dodge, it's still too good to have a solid Just Defend in the same game as it, right? But yeah, like, I love this. This is a nerf that does, it's not a buff that's too much. It doesn't make, like, Just Defend over centralizing. I think it leads to a lot of hype ass moments, right? At least a lot of hype-ass moments. And it makes a mechanic that is kind of underutilized. It gives, like, at least high-level players something to play with, right? I found Just Block being the way it is. I stopped playing Blaze Blue because Just Block changes frame data. Again, it definitely shouldn't get buffed that much, right? It definitely shouldn't get buffed that much. Especially, again, because of the fact that we have Brave Counter in this game, right? We have Brave Counter in this game. So, with that in mind, that's Just Defend. What other system mechanics do we have? Raging Strike? Can I be real with you? He's kind of perfect as he is, probably. I feel like one of the, like, I don't know. Maybe this is a hot take, but, like, really one of the only problems with Raging Strike used to be just how good it was to do this. And, like, is it still good to do this? Yes, but it does, like, half as much damage as it used to, you know? If you're, like, you know, it still gives characters some reach off of, like, bad hit confirms they otherwise wouldn't have to end the round. But, like, I think that's okay. I think that's fine, right? I think that's fine. If you want to get rid of this entirely, like, I suppose, sure. But I feel like that part of Raging Strike is fine. It's like, I think it is just fast enough, right, to be interesting, right? As a pressure tool, the reward is fine. It's very solid in combos. This system mechanic just works, I think. Maybe make it slightly harder to get random anti-airs from RS? Maybe. But that is, I don't know. That is, not a real strategy. You know what I mean? That's just, like, sometimes in the scramble, people get their shit rocked, including me. And that's probably, like, that probably is funnier than it is bad. You know, like, funnier than it is, like, unhealthy. It's probably okay to keep some amount of, like, funny jank in the game every now and then, but make Raging Chain wall bounce for the funny. Of course, that's GBH, man. What if they replace BC with Wild Assault and other overused jokes? Speaking of overused jokes, have you considered that they can't replace BC with Wild Assault because we already have Wild Assault in the game, because Wild Assault is called 6-6L. Anyways, yeah. So, Raging Strike, Raging Chain, I feel like are kind of... Would you be down for decoupling the BC input from the Raging Strike mechanic? No, I would not, because I think the BC input being on Raging Strike is a nerf to BC. Right? I think that sometimes you fuck up your 2L BCOS, or you, like, preemptively Brave counter or something, and you get hit, and you get a Raging Strike instead and die. Right? We've seen, like, people lose tournaments as a result of this. So no, I would not, because Raging Strike and Brave Counter being the same inputs makes Brave Counter worse, and that is a good thing. What other system mechanics do we have? Ultimate Skills counts, right? Ultimate Skills certainly count as a system mechanic. A universal, like, sweeping change to ult skills? I'm not so sure, personally, right? Like, maybe they shouldn't, maybe universally they shouldn't refund 12.5% meter on block, right? Like, maybe that's a fair argument. That probably would just be a little healthier in general, make them a little less spammable, right? I think I'm fine. I'm fine with the 25% meter refund on hit. It leads to, like, rewarding for, like, finding better links and shit like that, right? But, like, maybe they shouldn't refund 12 meter on hit, right? As it currently does. Bigger discussion, there is probably just a meter gain conversation. You think so? Meter is candy in this game, but I think that's fine, right? I think a lot of characters' use skills are, like, fundamental to their kits. right? Make more of them not completely safe on block. Yeah, that is adjusting individual use skills. You know what I mean? Like there are some use skills whose risk is way too low considering the reward or things like that. But I don't know that like universally, if you made like every use skill a lot more punishable, I don't know it's such a good idea anymore. Before, when they had like truly ridiculous reward, when every use skill universally had ridiculous reward because of no scaling when they started a combo and the existence of 125 meter combos, there was an argument then of like, all right, do we remove the reward or do we increase the risk? Personally, I was kind of on team increase the risk, but by and large, they reduced the reward, right? Now, I don't think we need like a sweeping risk-reward change on use skills. This would be more of a talk of character adjustments, you know what I mean? Eustace U-Grenade needs to get touched a little bit, right? Like, Matera U-Butterfly, obviously, needs to get touched a little bit. Percy is not really a problem right now because of the way the meta is, but I would still say that Flame Carver probably needs to get touched again, even if you want to give him some more stuff, right? Or if you nerf the zoners, don't give him anything. Like, it's probably individual use skills, right? Like maybe Grim U Seal Place to like get rid of the Kamaroki in some way, whatever it is. But use skills as a whole, I'm not so sure. What if we get the return of the back shift mechanic from previous Grand Blue? I don't know what that is, man. I don't know what that is. What if they made the scaling slightly less when starting with use skills? That would require nerfing individual use skills, but I don't mind it. I don't know. I don't know that we need a reward increase either, though. You know what I mean? Like use skills as a concept feel like they work pretty well right now. You know? Like I don't know if we need like a universal reward increase or a or risk increase or risk decrease or reward decrease. Like the system functions, there are just outliers, which is the realm of character adjustments, right? If anything, I think you could make it so they just don't refund 12.5 because it does, I think, make certain cases a little too spammable, and it like causes. Like, it leads to a limiting of design space a little bit. Like if you make use skills that are very good for, like, on-block situations, then it just leads to them being maybe, like, you have to make them a little weaker by default because of the fact that they only cost 37.5 meter, not 50, right? Back to a fully invincible backdash at cost meter. Interesting. I don't think we need... I'll tell. Okay, are we almost done? We'll get to that in a second. Because I think we're almost done talking about adjustments to system mechanics. I think U skills are by and large fine. I think Raging Strike, Raging Chain are by and large fine. I think BC needs a big nerf in the form of removing the hard knockdown Brave counter. Maybe at least. It might need more, but I think we can certainly just start with that and move on, right? 6XL, Clash level 0, and air blockable. Maybe even minus on air block. And Raging Strike and Chain, perfectly fine. Just defend. I think it will be cool to make it so that it saved you from chip, right? I think that would lead to some very hype moments, though we might have to reduce the window to like 6 frames. If it really is 8 right now, it might have to be reduced to like 5 or 6, just because that might be a little too easy for like really good players to just never die to chip otherwise. Could spot dodging an opponent's use skill grant something to the defender, like a small amount of meter? Maybe. I think usually spot dodging your opponent's use skill should, I think, get you either a full punish or they just waste their meter on nothing, right? But that might be an individual outliers thing. Any changes to crystal mechanics? No, I think it's fine. I think the Brave penalty right now is often not big enough to outweigh just using Brave counter. That's because Brave counter is too good. Like, I think we solved that by making Brave counter a little worse, not by making the Brave penalty bigger or something like that, right? Should SSBA maybe not take 2? That is a really good point. That's a real discussion you can have. I think there is we talked about this, we were talking about IDs, right? I think there's a very good argument that SSBAs are too good of a comeback mechanic. Yes? They already do a metric shit ton of damage, right? 6,000 damage baseline, often 6,600 if you tech input it. For some characters, even more, right? Like 6,240 / 6867 or whatever the fuck it is when you tech input it. Taking giving you a Brave point back and taking 2 from your opponent is maybe a little too good. Right? What about taking 1 but giving 2? That'd be better, probably. It's still very strong. A 3 Brave point shift in any direction is really good. The SBAs being a 2 Brave point shift is already huge, right? It might be totally fine to just say the thing that SBA does that, SSBA does that SBA doesn't is 50% more damage, you know? Like, it might be totally fine to just say it's 1-1, right? Now, I don't know if they would do that, right? I don't know if they would do that because I feel like they certainly are. But like, for example, Sora's SBA, they buffed it to take 2 now, right? So that like they're leaning into that a little bit more. But I think that that is probably because you don't want to make SSBAs do less damage. That's lame, right? I want my big cinematic comeback super to blow you in half when I hit you with it, right? So you definitely don't want to make them do like less damage. I mean, you could do something like make them accessible at like 25% health, but that's a pretty big, like it might, oh, 25 to 30. That's a pretty sweeping change. Though certainly so is making them take one less brave point. Like a mild nerf to SSBAs is probably not a bad idea. They feel, I don't think it's necessary, mind you. I don't think it's like, you know, on like the top 10 list of like issues that we have to fix or something like that. But SSBAs are a little too strong, I think. Comeback mechanics, I know people don't like them. I think they're fun. I think it's cool, right? I think at the end of the day, like, yes, the better player will win more often if comeback mechanics didn't exist at all, but I think it's a relatively reasonable sacrifice to make, considering the better player also gets the comeback mechanic, right? So I think they generally are, if not ridiculously overtuned, they are generally hyper than they are kind of unfortunate that sometimes someone's gonna steal a right? Taking 2 brave points away makes that sometimes a little too much. So, it's a huge nerf in hindsight. Like, when I say it's like, oh, a minor nerf to SSBA, making it take 1 brave point away from your opponent makes it significantly worse. But I still think it'll be really good. Like, I don't think it'll be like, suddenly it's like, I don't even want to SSBA. I don't think so. I think it's still, like just the sheer damage that shit does, right? Like, baseline minimum, it adds 3,000 damage to your combo. Right, which if you're low enough on health, like that's probably a pretty solid chunk of the entire HP pool your opponent has remaining. So, maybe that's a little bit heavy-handed, right? Maybe that's a little heavy-handed. Maybe what SSBA does, like a simpler or like a less heavy-handed nerf, is maybe SSBA takes 2 crystals away unless your opponent is on 2 and then only takes 1, right? Maybe, right? Like, this would be a damage nerf to them as well. If we wanna compensate, like if we want to, I'll be okay with it doing the same amount of damage, because one thing is an SSBA will do more damage hitting a guy on like if I just go boo. Oh, excuse me, I don't have the meter. If we want to like make it so they like universally they all do like we buff the damage so they do a similar amount. Like if you hit a guy on 2 BP, it gets a damage buff without removing the brave points, right? Because like right now, if I hit Uno with this right here, this will do 6,000 damage. If I hit him when he's on 2 BP, it will do more. Because this last little bit here will hit when he's on no brave points. That's 6k. And if instead I hit him when he's on 2 BP, right? Then I think this first part still does 3k, maybe it does more? No, it does more, yeah. So that does 3,750, and then he'll do 7,500 overall, I think, right? So the SSBA will do more damage to a guy on 2 BP than a guy on 0 BP. Yeah. So I'm okay with the fact, like, it'd be a little messy, like programming wise, right? Like it's not the most elegant solution in the world, but I would be okay with the idea of like SSBA can only ever bring you down to 1 brave point. So it takes 2 if you're at 3, but 1 if you are, or maybe if you're at 1, it goes to 0. I don't know, because supers can do that, right? SBAs can do that. Like if you're on 3, it takes 2. If you're on 2, it takes 1, and if you're on 1, it takes 1. You know what I mean? And then adjust the damages accordingly, so that if it hits a guy on 2, it does more. If it hits a guy on 1, it does more, right? Like, I don't want the damage to go down, but I think it being able to take 2 brave points from you at any point is probably a little too much, right? But as a somewhat restrained nerf, making it so it can still take you from 3 to 1 might not be so bad, right? Because it is a pretty big sweeping nerf to just make it go from 2 to 1 always. That's a more elegant solution, but it might be a little too overhanded, right? You just make it the SSBA's pierce the crystal system, so it always pretends you're on 0, but only takes 1 or only leaves you on 1. I mean, that'll be a buff to the damage on 3 BP, right? That'll be a buff to damage on 3 BP, which I don't really love, because I think that, you know, one of the things that you are rewarded for, you know, managing your brave points well is not getting hit for extra by shit like that. But yeah, something along those lines. Like a way, like the change that I want, how to implement it is a question of game design, right? But the change that I would like the end result, the effect, is I would like for SSBAs to only ever take 1 BP at a time, maybe 2 if you're at 3, without changing the amount of damage they do. I don't want to nerf, right? I'm kind of fine with SSBA taking 2. I'm also kind of fine with it, but it feels a little strong. Like, it certainly feels a little too strong sometimes, right? I am kind of fine with it as well. But if it happened, this isn't one that I'm like right now, like, you know, we're talking about Brave Counter. I was banging my fist on the table going, Brave Counter has needed to not hard knock down for like, I mean, realistically, since the game released, but at least like people have been begging for it for like 18 months now or something like that, right? Maybe 12 if you're really generous, but I think it's closer to like 18. So that one is like, you know, I'll put my balls on Fukuhara's forehead and say that to his face, right? But like the SSBA, I think it could be changed. I think if the crystal take from SSBA was nerfed, I don't think that's like, I'll be fine with that. Like, it's something I might be partial to. All right, so I think that's all of our system mechanics, right? Unless you count 5 U's, those are really, I don't think that's really a thing, right? So we went over it all. New mechanic. Here, this is, I mean, if you thought we were speculating before, I have some ideas, but this is obviously, there is no fucking way to guess, because they could just introduce like a whole new UI element, right? Who knows? There are a couple of at least relatively obvious ideas, though, right? One, I'm gonna tell you right now. This should be, if it has to be one or the other, this should be an offensive mechanic. I know, they're gonna take Wild Assault Last Strive and put it in Grand Blue. Oh, they already have Wild Assault Last. Yeah, this should be an offensive mechanic, probably, right? Now, hopefully it's maybe neither. Like, hopefully it's not one that is like directly like a pressure tool or something like that, or a defensive tool. Like, hopefully it's a third thing that has nothing to do with like the flow of offense and defense, right? Maybe it's like some different way to spend a resource or something that, you know, is combo related or something like that, right? That could be interesting. Though that is kind of an offensive buff, certainly, if it gives more combo options. But like, this probably should not be like an invincible backdash for 50 meter, right? That's what someone was talking about. Again, on the whole, defensive mechanics in Grand Blue are already stronger than offensive mechanics, right? Now, if things got shifted around, then maybe, like, if Brave Counter gets hit really hard, sure. But, like, there's so much throw invincibility in this game, which is a system mechanic technically, but I'm not getting around that, right? Fuzzy Mash is so goddamn good in this game. Like, people come over from Street Fighter 6, and they're like, I tell them to, like, Fuzzy Mash, like, isn't that bad? It's like, not here, man. No, right? Like, there's so many defensive OSs, right? Like, Brave Counter is so strong. Yes, 6XL exists, but, like, by and large, defensive mechanics, like defensive system mechanics in this game, and their consequences are stronger than the offensive ones. So if this was like another defensive mechanic, that is not good, I think. Like, I think you are going to very much, if it is at all meaningful for the meta, you're going to push the game to be like the nobody does anything show, right? So some kind of move that leans either offensive or just like some other thing entirely that like changes the way that you interact with a certain part of the game sounds much more interesting to a guy like me, right? Unironic, it's a timeline where 6-6U arrives to nerf the zoners. We get that Galleon top 1 patch Brick was so worried about. So people have been talking about this over and over again, right? So 6-6U is an interesting idea, unironically, because it is the only non-represented button in that. Or you have a 6-6M, you have a 6-6H, you don't have a 6-6U. I mean, I don't know what these would be is the thing. Like, if it's not just like if it's not just like a dashing version of your unique skill, which obviously just wouldn't work at all on some characters, right? Which that's why it kind of can be already, right? You can like dash into your parry for Uno. But like, I don't know. It will be a new move for every single character. I'm not sure how standardized they would make it. Probably decently, like, you know, like there's like a few categories for it. Like, think about like 6-6Ms, for example. Like, either it could be 6XL, where it's almost the same move on everyone with like slightly varying properties, or it could be like 6XMs, where there's by and large, you know, 2, maybe 3 kinds of them, right? Like low hitting, like 6XM pokes, like overhead pseudo reactable mix / round closing options, and like some 6XMs are like a little special, like Belial's is like a low that's plus on block for a pressure or something like that, right? So it might be something like that where there's a couple of categories for it. Maybe they bring back the universal overhead from vanilla versus as a universal throw bait thing. Maybe. But yeah, like, it would, I mean, just giving every it might not sound like a mechanic, but it is. Giving every character a new move would be pretty cool, right? Like, that's probably on the less transformative side of things. Like, if you were to draw a little spectrum, right? If you were to draw a little spectrum here, right? And on like this, I mean, let me try and get this to look somewhat clean, right? I didn't say super clean. It's gonna be somewhat, at least gonna be straight lines, even if they're not aligned or anything like that, right? But like if like over here is like roughly, maybe I should do this with text. Like if over here is like oh my god, he can't fucking draw, man. Roughly the same game, right? Roughly the same game. And like over here is like fucking Rising 2, right? Then like 66U is by and large, like 66U is kind of on this side of things, right? Like 66U is kind of just like, it would be cool, right? Like 66U, right? Yeah, Rising Revengeance, exactly. Like 66U is kind of on this, maybe that's a good thing, right? Very well, like it probably is a good thing, right? Like this it will be a new move for every character, which will be very fun. It will give every main like something to play around with, right? It will like probably change how certain matchups interacted and stuff like that, depending on how much like power budget went into them and things like this. But it would still be Rising, right? It wouldn't be like it, you know, it wouldn't be like they added like Wild Assault or something like that, right? Like for example, if you were to think about like Brave Counter, if Brave Counter didn't exist in the video game and then it got introduced in its current, and like especially it's like its release state, for example, right? If Brave Counter didn't exist in the video game and then got introduced in its release state, that is straight, like that's over here, right? Like that's what this, like it would be like it would be outside of the fucking like it would change the way the game was played so fundamentally in a bad way, right? That it will be a whole other thing. This is much more on the side of like, it's gonna be the same game. People have a few new tools, right? Something that you could do that could be a little bit more transformative that I was thinking of, and I kind of like hinted at it a little bit with id, because I think thinking about this in sort of parallel with id a little bit could be quite interesting, in the sense of maybe whatever the new mechanic is something that features very heavily in id's kit. This is also kind of in the realm of a new move for every character. This is a big change, though. Like, this would be, I don't know if they literally have the dev time to do this, but it'll be something akin to, like, almost, the thought that I had about this was almost something like how in Uma Musume, Pretty Derby, the best game ever made, you have your white skills, your gold skills, then you have your Evo skills eventually. If there was a way to spend, like, even more meter on some special moves to make them even better, right? That could be interesting. Now, that is way too many new moves per character. So maybe every character gets one special move that gets like a Giga version, right? This will be a balancing nightmare, is the one problem. But almost every system mechanic change is probably a balancing nightmare, right? But like, imagine, for example, if like Gran could spend, I don't fucking, Gran could spend 100 meter on armor break or something like that to make it like a combo starter. I don't know, right? Like, this is a bad idea. But like, it could be something, right? In a similar vein of like giving everyone a new move, but it costs a resource of some kind, right? I think that this is a very poorly formed idea, right? It's a very poorly formed idea. But what I'm trying to sort of dig at is the idea of giving characters even more things to spend meter on, because meter is candy in the video game. And I think one of the more interesting things, regardless of the fact that that is the case, is, you know, sometimes the decision of like, do I spend meter on do I like spend the meter on super here? Do I save it for like a U skill to get like better pressure or something later? Like, it's gonna take the brave point, whatever. Like, that is an interesting part of the video game a lot of the times, is deciding what you're gonna do mid combo. If you could have even more things to spend your meter on, I think that could be quite interesting, right? Now, whether that's going to be like another level of skill, what if it's using Raging Strike on special moves at the cost of extra meter? Oh, that turning every special into a combo starter is probably not, like, if I could just do this into RS, probably not super healthy, but I like this idea. Now everyone has a Matera U Butterfly, but it costs 100, which makes it fair. I mean, kind of. Maybe not. Matera U Butterfly is probably still not balanced if it costs 100 meter, which is really funny to think about. Like, once you, I was like, would Matera U Butterfly be fair if it cost 100 meter? And I'm like, maybe not, genuinely, right? But yeah, like, giving every character some like supercharged version of a special move. But again, it costs maybe 75 or like, yeah, like 100 meter or something like that, right? Could be interesting. Or if that is too shit of an idea, again, just something else to spend your meter on, I think will be very cool. Because it would just add more decisions, right? What I would like are some specials to make rather than Kusoge. Yeah, I don't know about all that. What in general, I would like this new system mechanic, ideally, to introduce decision making to my video game. I know this is very high level, like, kind of talking out my own ass stuff, but like the effect of the system mechanic, hopefully, should be to add more decisions per second, more decisions per round to how I go about things, right? This is also, the reason why you would want some system mechanics to be nerfed, right? Like, if BC is a little worse, it makes it, there's more decisions to be had on offense and defense. If 6XL is a little worse in pressure, there's more decisions to be had on offense and on defense, right? So, the existence of the system mechanic, ideally, would make the game more, not complicated necessarily, sort of inherently, this is another mechanic now, right? But again, it will give me more things to do, more things to think about, more decisions to make, second to second, interaction to interaction, round to round, game to game. And I feel like giving another layer to the resource management minigame would be very cool, right? Like 6XUs are cool. I like 6XUs as an idea. But if there's going to be like another move, I think it's cool, but I think it's less interesting than something that would cost a resource. Now, I guess you could make maybe 6XU is a dash move that costs 50 meter, but I don't know. Like if it's just gonna be like, I don't know what you do there to not just make all of them Giga 6XL, basically, but something that costs meter like that. And I feel like building upon the already existing like U skill system, I think would be pretty cool. How the fuck would you do this, by the way? I don't know. Maybe you like hold the U button. That might be a little annoying with input reading sometimes, right? How exactly you'd implement that, I guess I'm not entirely certain off the top of my head. Maybe it will be like a 2-button input, like maybe, I'm not sure, right? Like now that I think about like, because you could just make it like a hold, or you could make it like a tap twice or something, but I feel like that'd be a little annoying, because it could lead to like some input issues, right? You could make it to where it's like, I don't know, you hit fucking like light and U with the same, like it's like fucking the skill button and like throw or something, right? Oh, is that already special? Oh, that's already fucking super. Never mind. Yeah, I don't know. The input for that would be odd. Now that I think of it, you definitely wouldn't want to make it just like a technical input or something. You expect the patch, it's not a big number patch. It gives us a super transformative mechanic. Well, considering that we have never ever gotten the new system mechanic introduced to the game, I would expect that this would probably be like probably the big thing this patch is going to do is these two things. I mean, obviously it, but like I would expect that this is actually not going to be very big, right? Maybe they're going to go, fuck it, it's the Versuja patch. I'd be a little scared if that happened. I think there's a very good chance the game leaves that patch in a worse state than it entered it, if that's the case. Like, maybe they're like, fuck it, new system mechanic, Brave counter at 6XL nerf, and 30 character changes. I don't think so. My guess is that this is not going to be very big, the character adjustments. So, like, it's going to be like, a couple, hopefully, long-desired nerfs to some system mechanics, and then, like, the big new toy is what makes the patch worthy of existing, right? Would be my guess. If they're bothering to mention character adjustments, something big might happen. Maybe. But like, if the patch were gonna err on the side of a little smaller, like some of the Season 2 patches have been, then I would wager that the big thing that makes this patch worthwhile of existing would be this mechanic. So, I think the last 2 patches suggest they're probably doing small iterations on characters, but yeah, who knows? Yeah. So like, I would guess if this is the halfway point, I would guess this mechanic is gonna be more on this side. That's probably not a good thing, by the way, but I would figure that probably is going to be something like that, right? Like, if 6XU is, like, over here, like, Giga skills is probably, like, closer to, like, over here. It's still, like, I mean, especially if it's only going to be the one move per character, right? Like, some fucking Giga skill or whatever the fuck will probably be somewhere over there, right? Something else to spend, so if we're talking about resource management, the meter is one thing. Something else to spend your Brave points on would be very interesting, and I've heard this idea kind of spouted a couple of times, right? The problem is, souped up use skill sounds kind of fun for Abel, but also Cancer, yeah. Another way to use BP aggressively? Yes, the problem is, whatever you make the BP use for, you're going to have to make a very strong system mechanic, right? So it's gotta be something some people are not going to like, because, anything that spends Brave counter, or Brave points, has to be very good, right? It doesn't have to be BC good. BC shouldn't be BC good, right? But it probably has to be like post-nerf BC good, right? It probably has to be, as good as like hit confirming your 2L into like 6,000 damage, which is what this lets you do, right? I think people sleep a little bit on just like how how nice it is that like Raging Strike, Raging Chain lets you do the shit that it lets you do, right? Like it has to be as good as this. So if you introduced something else to spend BP on, it's going to be like it's kind of going to have to be on like this side of the scale, right? Otherwise, it's not worth spending the Brave points on. Now, this to me would be the thing that is the most interesting. If I had to pick, give me a mechanic, if well executed, it'll be another way to spend Brave points. Because the meter management is one thing. I think the most interesting part of this game, and it will get even more interesting if BC was toned down, is the Brave points management, right? You oftentimes can look at the Brave points of two people almost above anything else except like massive differences in health or something, and like tell who's winning the round, right? If like things are even remotely close to equal and one guy has 3 Brave points, the other guy has 1, that is a rough round for the guy with 1 Brave point, right? So if you added another, and like even as strong, as broken as BC is currently, there are still a lot of times where you're like, maybe it would be, maybe like I shouldn't BC here and save it for later, right? Who knows? I might need that Brave point later, and also, you know, the penalty's a little scary, right? But it's also just the opportunity cost of not having the Brave points for the very strong things they do later, right? Or like spending the Raging Strike, Raging Chain here, and it's like, well, maybe I would, you know, is it worth it to snowball the round in my favor like this, or would I rather save it for a rainy day in case I lose my turn, need to Brave counter? This is the most interesting resource management layer in this video game, right? In fact, even if it's a big HP diff, but it's 3-0 BP the other way, I still think it's in favor of the guy with more HP, or with more BP. Yeah, I agree, right? So, if it is well implemented, and it fits in well with Raging Strike and BC, a new way to spend Brave points would be the coolest fucking thing, right? Like, that would be the best ending for this, right? Because that also is a nerf to BC, right? In a way. Like, if now Brave countering means you might not be able to do the new cool thing, right? Then I think that would be pretty cool. Now, with that in mind, like I mentioned earlier, if you're going to do this, it should be something offensive. Please do not give us a second defensive thing to spend Brave points on. Please, I'm begging you, right? So, if Raging Strike is our, like, if we're going to make it something offensive, right? If Raging Strike is our, like, combo extending move and, like, very high risk, high reward pressure tool, right? And Brave counter is our defensive option, right? What else, like, what kind of room is there, right, to even include something like this? I mean, you could, like, Raging Strike certainly does not fill a very viable window for, like, a pressure tool, right? So I guess you could do something that, like, unironically, something, not like a Roman cancel, obviously, because that'd be way too overpowered to just throw in there, right? But, like, something that maybe you could spend. I was gonna say a sentence, and then I immediately. This is why system mechanics are so difficult, right? Summons, maybe? So 2 people have mentioned that now, yeah. Something from Grand Blue Fantasy summons, maybe. Making everyone a fucking puppet character seems a little spooky, right? But what I was gonna say, right? French Toast mentioned summons. I kind of like the idea of once per round thing you can do for BP, plus then it's universal. You don't have to animate new shit for everyone. Yeah, but like, does that just, are you just making everyone a set play character if you do that? You know what I mean? Yeah, as an idea for Oki is interesting, right? As an idea for Oki is certainly interesting. Basically, I feel like it would have to be a pressure tool of some kind. Either block pressure or knockdown pressure, right? Because you already have your combo thing. You probably don't want to add too many, right? You definitely have your defensive thing. You don't want to do it. Not a puppet, but like a buff or big fireball once per round to reset pressure. Yeah. The thing I was thinking of was something akin to like a way worse Roman cancel for a second. And then I was like, that might still be way too good to put in this game. Basically, I was thinking about something that could let you block out of a special move instantly. But I don't know if that's good enough. It's either not good enough or way too good. You know what I mean? Like, again, not a cancel. You can't just like combo start off a special move, right? Isn't mid combo RS basically a way worse RC? That's what I'm talking about. No. I'm saying like on pressure. Like imagine you do something unsafe, right? Like this, right? And I can like spend a BP to like block, or like something that just avoids getting punished. That is a little belligerent. Right? But also, I mean, it's probably that's probably like an assist. No, just like basically canceling into block for a brave point, right? It's not gonna let you turn it into pressure. It's not gonna let you turn it into a combo if it hits, right? Purple RC. I was thinking red RC. Red. I think no. Yeah, it's closer to I guess PRC, right? Yeah, something similar to a PRC, right? This is probably the weakest of the three agnostically, right? This is the weakest of the three in a vacuum, but in certain situations, it'll be the strongest, right? Like if you are just desperately trying to keep your turn up, right? If you're just desperately trying to keep your turn up, you can, or like if you desperately need to not get hit by something, or if like it would let you take risks, like yeah, unironically, it will let you do some shit like Beatrix like riding freeze at your ass, and if you hit her, right? If she hits you, she wins, but if you don't, if she spends the BP, then you don't get to kill her, right? That might be a little toxic, right? Though again, that might be a matter of like maybe riding free needs to get nerfed and not that, right? But it'd be an interesting idea, I think. It's one way we could go with it. Whatever they do, right? Whatever they do, it's going to be very strong. If it's a BP mechanic, it can't not be really, really, really good, because there are going to have to be times where you choose to do that instead of brave countering, or where you choose to do that instead of extending your combo with Raging Strike, right? Like again, brave counter obviously is stronger than RSRC, but you do have to remember that, like, for example, one of the things you can spend your brave points on is, you know, converting your 2L into 5k, right? Like, yes, it's really bad if it doesn't kill them right then and there, but like, this is one of the things you can spend your brave points on, is that, right? And you can also spend it on BC, which even if not hard knockdown, it's going to be very, like, it's still very strong. So like, whatever they do is gonna have to be really, really good. And I think making some kind of pressure option for that would be interesting. Now, is that cancel too good? I don't think so. I think it might lead to some not super feel good situations though, right? That if I like bring up one gripe with it is definitely that I feel like a lot of the times you want to feel like, okay, they did the high risk thing, I called it out, I deserve a punish now, right? Not getting that punish kind of stinks. Like, even if in a vacuum it's not unbalanced, I think it just hurts. I think that makes you sad. Like, I think that yeah, that is kind of an anti-fun mechanic, isn't it? Right? Like the more I think about that, the more it is kind of an anti-fun mechanic of like, I blocked my opponent's big thing and I don't even get a punish because they had a brave point. Hard to say. Could be similar to the new Strive mechanic, spending a resource on the big counter hit slowdown moves. I don't think we need. I feel like it might make the strong character stronger than it would strengthen weaker characters. It would probably be pretty. It'd probably be pretty case by case, right? It'd probably be pretty case by case. The characters that tend to have more shit that's unsafe on block in the first place tend to be the weaker characters, but also there are some standouts like a Riding Free or something like that. Brave Assault, just a free plus on block, invincible, neutral skip, and pressure reset. Vidril, I don't know if maybe you just haven't been around the stream, so I'm not gonna clown you as much. But like, if I hear one more person make a Wild Assault joke, I think I'm going to like actually. I'm not gonna do anything. Actually, I'm not gonna do anything. But it's like it's maybe the least funny thing I've ever heard. It's hard to say. That's a very low bar. But like, it's too much. Now I just got here. I mean, like, over the past like 2 weeks, where everyone has been saying, "Oh, what if they?" I got it. The new system mechanic is gonna be they're gonna put Wild Assault, because did you guys know they took Wild Assault out of Guilty Gear Strive? So that means they're gonna put Wild Assault in Grand Blue, because they only have the one Wild Assault. They have to share so they took it out of that game and they're gonna put it in Grand Blue. And then someone else who thinks they're very clever goes, "Actually, have you realized that Wild Assault already exists in Grand Blue? It's called 66L." And then everyone laughs, I think. Maybe spending 2 BP or 100 meter to summon a Bahamut, for example. Create hazards on the map like Ilsa Rocket or Flame Carpet. Yeah, putting Wild Assault in Grand Blue. Isn't that so fucking funny, man? Is that the fucking most creative joke you've ever heard? That definitely 1,000 people have not all, like, it wasn't the first thing that literally everyone said when they saw new mechanic. Wasn't that funny, man? Isn't that so fucking funny? But yeah, I don't know, right? Like, whatever. Summons is an interesting idea, right? What if instead load-bearing Goku beam assist? Is he load-bearing in this game too? He's load-bearing in Strive, right? But I assume he's not in this game's files. It'd be really funny if he was. Again, I think the most fun, if implemented correctly, but also probably the hardest to balance, would be another way to spend Brave points, right? Because you have to make it strong enough to be worth picking over the other options without just making it ridiculous, bullshit, and broken and unfun. right? To be true to the gachas, the only reason I say summons, it's an interesting idea. It is an interesting idea, but like I feel like either if it's one thing that everyone can do, then I feel like it's not super interesting, right? And like to make it not that, you probably have to introduce like a lot of complexity. I think the summon idea would make some characters stupidly strong, but it sounds fun. I mean, obviously it depends, like the idea depends hugely on how it's implemented, right? But burst, but it drops you to 0 BP. Yeah, again, for sure, whatever the mechanic is, it should not be a defensive mechanic at all. Absolutely, right? Like, unless this patch comes with, like literally, if this patch comes with 6XL buffs, then we can talk about a defensive mechanic. But if it's unless that's happening, unless the patch is Brave counter nerfs and 6XL buffs, a defensive mechanic is a really bad idea. I'll see if introducing a mechanic without it using BP. Yeah, I mean, it might be, the only other things I could see it being is, either a new way to spend meter, just like a new move for every character, right? Or alternatively, right? So say, for example, right, we have, what's it called? We have, let's say that example of just like fucking basically PRC, right? Like like a way to just, you know, cancel your unsafe special moves to make them safe. You don't get a combo off it or anything, but it literally just lets you block if you throw out an unsafe special move, right? Let's say that's the case. Maybe this is now the more I think about it, the more I think this is kind of an anti-fun idea. But if we put it on the spectrum from like roughly the same to Rising 2, that goes over here for sure. Like that'll be pretty game warping, right? The only thing that I could see that gets us all the way to the end of the spectrum, and I don't know if they would do this, but it'll be a third resource, right? Fourth, I guess, if you count health. Like if there was just a entirely new subsystem that did things, but that is, I think, like that would be like out here, right? Like, you know, there's fucking, like assists, right? Or something like that, or not assists, because obviously it's definitely not going to be a tag fighter, right? But yeah, it's like, there's they already have most of those models in the story mode. Oh, for the primals? Yeah. Like for example, say that it is summons, but it's like a whole new thing now, right? Like, say that it's like summons, right? Say that it's like summons, but summons are just kind of like things that are selectable at character select, right? Maybe even based on like what fucking faction you're a part of in the lore or something. I don't even know, right? But it's like there are multiple different summons you can pick, right? And like the summons do different things, and like different people might want different things. Like it'll be like almost like. It's not quite like a groove. That's a little bit more. That's like an EX character or something like that, right? But yeah, just adding like an entirely new subsystem, right? Like an entirely new subsystem would be interesting, right? We're doing the Power Ranger Megazords, sort of. For example, right? Like you have, and it uses its entirely own separate resource. Like there's a new icon that shows up like right beneath where the timer is on the bottom left and bottom right, and it's the icon of your summon. And when you use it, it goes on like you can use it once per round, or maybe once per game, or something like that, right? And it does something really stupid, right? Who knows? Maybe. Right? Is that a good idea? I'm not sure. But yeah, something like, if they're doing something that drastic, they would just announce Rising 2 for 60 instead. Yeah. Something like that is in the realm of possibility, right? We have the Dragon Balls. Yeah. It's in the realm of possibility, and that will be the things that get us all the way to the end of this line chart. But again, my wager would be this is not super likely, right? Can't they just be passives like how they actually work in the mobile game? They don't actually attack, they're just passive for the team. Passives in a fighting game will be kind of weird though, right? Like if there was one that was like you just do 5% more damage, that would be like the best one for sure, right? Unless they did something literally game warping, like you have lifesteal, or like passives are kind of weird. Maybe a summon for each archetype. Maybe it would get a little. Then you would get into situations kind of like with Wild Assault, where you have to kind of blur the line a little bit on like. You know, they gave Potemkin like white Wild Assault, and then they were like, maybe he should have blue Wild Assault. Like, it could be something like that, but we already got cooldowns. I mean, yeah, like it could be like basically like another version of like a super skill like that, but again, it's completely its own resource or its own, you know, subsystem or something, or even like something like, you know, another resource that could do multiple littler things, right? Instead of just one big thing or something. These could be these could happen, but they are probably not a good idea. I think it's very hard to include anything like further right of the chart than like this, like all of this. I think it's really, really, really hard to add anything like that and have it not go really badly, probably, right? or at least it's gonna make the game feel completely different. Like you might like it afterwards, but it's probably not gonna be for the same reasons that you used to.
Very good odds that this person.
What if you could choose one of the skills you get in survival mode?
Attractive.
Those are entirely broken. Yeah. Brick hates me. You really want this? Brick, I'm here. What did I miss? Thank you for the 15, by the way. Gotcha. A whole lot ago. We were talking about IDs, and we were talking about changes to system mechanics, and now we were talking about what the new system mechanic could be. Right. So yeah, like something like that is a whole other subsystem. I think could be cool, but it's probably not a great idea, and it's probably not very likely. Right. Again, if we have to go on the line of like something that just gives everyone a new move, right? Like, which is sort of on this side, or like a new way to spend BP, which would be somewhere here, or like an entirely new subsystem, which would be over here. I would wager that probably a new way to spend BP is the most likely. It's probably the best of both worlds too, as like it would be it would add some interesting decision making without completely making the game feel different, right? So if you want to zoom in a little bit on that, let's talk about some ideas. Is it a good idea ever? Is there ever a world? Is there ever a world? I'm not asking this rhetorically. Like this is genuinely a question that I'm asking. I'm gonna think through myself. Is there ever a world where something that costs more than 1 BP could be remotely balanced? My instinct is no. If you want me to pick something over 2 Brave counters, almost no matter how much you nerf Brave counter, that thing has to be broken. That thing has to be so broken that the entire video game becomes about it, and playing around it and what you can do to stop it and saving it for later, right? So that is like my instinct is that I just don't see a way you can make something cost 2 BP and not have it snap the game in half, or be so ass that nobody ever uses it, right? An MK style combo breaker, that'd be pretty horrible. Yeah, hard knockdown BC plus cost 2. Yeah. The release version of BC, but it costs 2 Brave points. Might as I think it'd be cool to have a totally new tour to play with. It do struggle to come up with something that isn't already in another game. Everything's already in another game, right? Like that's okay. It doesn't have to not be in another game. At the end of the day, including a mechanic from one, like something that is similar to something in another in one game, but in a game with an entirely separate set of mechanics and roster, comes off as very different, right? Lots of games have guard cancels. They're implemented differently, right? So Brave counter in Grand Blue feels like a lot different than like drive reversal in Street Fighter 6. It's the same thing. It's the same mechanic, right? But like it's not that different, right? For as stupid as the joke is, right? As stupid as the joke is, like you could make a comparison that something like Wild Assault, Drive Rush, and 6XL are all kind of vaguely in the same boat, especially I guess like whatever the neutral one would have been, right? Like I know, I guess White Wild Assault's probably like the strongest version of all of those, right? But yeah, something like White Wild Assault, 6XL, and like Drive Rush are all kind of in like the same vein, for example, right? So like it doesn't have to not be in another game. It's just more so, is it a good idea to include in this one, right? This game can't have burst and BC. Yeah, again, whatever it is, it shouldn't be defensive. It shouldn't be something that keeps you from dying, right? It should be something to kill you. Brick Stride have to be offensive unless they kill BC. Yes, like you have to, and by kill, they have to like remove it. Like which I don't think is. I don't think I'm super down for that. But like to include another defensive Brave point mechanic in this game, with how throw protection works, with how strong fuzzy mashing is, right? With how many defensive OSs exist, with 1-button DPs and supers. Like I think people also ignore Brave counter is not our only very strong defensive mechanic, right? We have 1-button DPs. We have 1-button supers. We have the strongest fuzzy mash in any fighting game. Maybe ever, at least anyone that I've played in 10 years, right? We have 9 frames of throw-in vuln on Wake Up and 6 frames on hit stun and block stun, right? So it's not just BC. We have like 5 defensive system mechanics already. So definitely don't need a 6th. I think it's an offensive mechanic, and anything that will be worth 2 BP without being super unfun. Yes, I agree. I'm just using that to trim the decision pool, right? I think whatever it is, it has to cost 1 BP and be roughly comparable to a Brave counter or a Raging Strike, right? Like, Brave counter is obviously the best thing that you can do, but like, in certain cases, there are certain cases, certainly, where Raging Strike becomes the better choice, right? Raging Strike is like a round closer. It could be a way for characters with like worse mid-screen to try and like, sort of, supplement that a little bit, right? It can be a way to like turn, a kind of nothing burger hit into like an easy hit confirm. Like it doesn't have to be on paper like Brave counter's direct equal, as long as it has actual use cases that come up often that happen, right? 6-6 that spends BP, 6-6 MH. So true. So with that in mind, to not step on the toes of any mechanic, it feels like it would have to be, maybe I'm thinking too small, but it would have to be some kind of pressure or neutral tool, right? Because again, combos, we have Raging Strike, right? You could argue that pressure, we have Raging Strike, but Raging Strike, I mean, this is, like, Drive Impacts can coexist with other, like, this is not so centralizing of a pressure option, right? So, like, Drive Impact can coexist with other pressure options. So, again, something like the equivalent of, like, a PRC that lets you, like, cancel into block only, not into movement, not into attacks, not into anything. Something that lets you cancel into block only, a special move or anything or something like that could be interesting. Maybe only on block to make sure that you can't just, like, kill people for wake up supering. Like, it would have to be the kind of thing that you could only do it, like, on block. You could, like, hit MH on something that's non-cancelable, right? And, like, I mean, that would also not overlap in controls. Like, I could, like, hit MH right here, and he just fucking shoot. He, like, zooms in, and he's guarding, right? I can't do anything else, but he's guarding. That could be interesting. That's the kind of thing that, on average, is certainly not better than a Brave counter. Might not even be better than a Raging Strike, but in certain cases, it's going to win you the game. And it's something to maybe save, like, it's like, maybe I want to save my Brave points in case I want to get a little bit more belligerent with my pressure, right? Because in a lot of cases, I want to give any sort of pressure extension. No, I agree, right? It wouldn't be a pressure extension. You would be giving up your turn, but it will be the case of, like, again, unfortunately, and this is the thing that does make me very hesitant about this, the best example of something like this is what it would do for, like, riding free, right? Like, in a case where it's like, I want to use a very high-risk move. If it hits, I kill you. If it misses, I die. Now it's like, well, if it hits, I kill you. If it misses, I just lose my turn, right? Like, that would be very powerful in certain situations. The issue with this is that it would be, like, one, besides the fact that it might just not be fun sometimes. Ignore Beatrix for a second, right? The fact that this might not be so fun to, like, again, block your opponent's big swing and not get anything out of it might be kind of an anti-fun mechanic, right? The other problem with it is that, what's it called? I think this is going to vary in usefulness hugely from character to character. It really just depends on your pressure structure. So one of the things that you really want to find is something that should be at least roughly as useful for everyone, right? So it can't depend on, like, the individual properties of your moves too much. A character that doesn't have that many, like, unsafe on block special moves that are even worth, like, using in pressure for the risk or for the reward, they're gonna get basically nothing out of that at all, right? So it gets kind of lame. DPRC. I mean, right? Again, if like, assuming this is something that only works on block and not on whiff, and it still gives up your turn, like, if I remember correctly, DPRC, you could do that shit and, like, kill someone, right? Like, DPRC, you would DP on wake up, right? You would DP on wake up, you would maintain the invincibility, and then you could do something with it, right? Like, it was like, you could start a turn invincibly. This wouldn't be quite that, right? It would still just be giving up your turn, but instead of getting full combos, you just, like, maybe are in a strike throw situation. Considering how many zoning systems are in the game that almost require not all tools for counterplay, a universal neutral skip would benefit for stabilizing matchups? Maybe. I think that's the only other place that you really can go. I can't really see anything that'd be universally useful for everyone without having some differences in it, like who shall not be named. Some differences is fine, right? Like, certain characters get more use out of Brave Counter or Raging Strike, but it shouldn't be something like the problem with that, like, PRC idea, for example, is, like, if you're a character who doesn't have, like, a common, like, high risk, high rewards, like, unsafe special move that is a big part of your pressure, it doesn't do anything for you. And that's, like, a good chunk of the cast, right? Like, it's easier to come up with characters, like, it's easier to just exhaust the list of characters that will be very good for than characters who wouldn't care about it at all, right? You think we'll get another member of the Eternals in Season 3? Maybe. People really don't like the fact that the only Eternal representation, I mean, Sophon should be there somewhere, probably, right? So I feel like that would make it pretty likely. If you're not counting him, if you're saying, like, another one, maybe. Is there any ability power in the lore associated with id, or that he embodies, would make most sense to introduce with him? We talked about it already. Dragon Form, God Might, all that. But Brave points to recharge cooldowns? Pressure extension? Maybe. Right? Some kind of, we got Uno and 6, though. Yeah, people like 6. They don't really love Uno, though, is my understanding. Like, people would rather almost any other Eternal. I wonder what Grand Blue Gotcha mechanic would translate well into Versus. It's hard to say, right? I want to skip that's too strong. Elite to characters like Sieg getting in easy with his damage. Yeah, I mean, if it costs a Brave point, though, right? Like, the interesting thing about any neutral skip is that this is where Brave counter kind of works, right? Like, if the neutral skip is not BC safe, which it probably shouldn't be, it does just become a matter of like, well, you know, it's 6XL, right? Like that's what kind of happens with 6XL. Is like, you know, 6XL, you can just get BC'd out of it. But the difference is 6XL is not, like, 6XL is not a resource costing move, right? So, like, BCing 6XL can feel kind of bad sometimes. If a guy is spending a Brave point for a neutral skip, then why wouldn't I just spend one to send him back out, right? Like, I guess then it will be the kind of thing that you could use to press a resource advantage, possibly. But being at a BC advantage is already kind of heartbreaking in this game, right? It's in like a neutral tool of some kind is interesting, right? A neutral tool of some kind is interesting, but if it was just like basically a better version of 6XL or something, I'm not so sure that'd be a good idea, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking like neutral tools are a little harder to come up with, it feels like, but characters who have really good neutral skips won't really use a BP for it. Zoners probably can't get much use out of it, and I don't want Ladiva to have one. I mean, characters who have really good neutral skips probably won't use a VP for it, but in certain situations, they might still, right? Zoners probably can't get much use out of it. Zoners, it can be very nice for them to switch up their pressure relatively quickly, right? I don't want Ladiva to have one. That is totally fair. That is totally fair, right? If you get meter quick, it wouldn't matter. It means characters with consistent supers are just spamming, yeah. Think about the one dude in chat who said 6-7L almost instantly on the reveal. I mean, he's fucking goated, man. What can I say? He's fucking goated. 6-7L, I mean, that'll be fucking, like, forward and then up back. Maybe it's just like, it's flight. If you hit 6-7L, you just fucking get Zamasu flight. Every character universally gets that shit. W6-7L. Yeah, a use for the neutral feels difficult to pinpoint to me in a way that isn't either kind of invalidated by BC or altogether too strong, right? Anything to cut down the Matera 7-3s? The thing to cut down the Matera 7-3s is Matera nerfs, not... If you want to introduce a universal system mechanic change to nerf Matera, like, or sorry, not even change. If you want to introduce a new system mechanic to nerf Matera, sometimes, man, it's fucking, what is it? It's Occam's razor. Just nerf Matera, man. Right? Like, if that's your problem, if you're like, the zoners are too, if you're like, these like 4 zoners are way too good, instead of saying, give me super 6XL I can spend a Brave point on and affect all 42 characters, just like nerf the zoners, man. Long time no see. What's going on, Big Wheel? Backwards diagonal dash attack for all your crossover anti-air needs or whatever else 6-7L would be. Something like that. Something like that. So yeah, I feel like a neutral tool seems a little bit of a rough sell to a guy like me. Seems like a little bit of a rough sell to a guy like me. I mean, the argument of converting it into like some kind of other resource, which is I've heard a couple of times, whether that's like meter or cooldowns or something, feels a little like a pressure extension is something I'm a little worried about, right? Maybe some sort of universal comeback mechanic. We do already have that in SSBA, right? We do already have that in SSBA. It is, I mean, honestly, I don't know about you. Like, call me a glazer all you want. It is kind of hard to find something that the game doesn't already kind of do. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like one interesting, certainly, question to be had with the system mechanic is, do we need it at all, right? The answer might be no. Right? The answer might be no. Because we kind of have, like, the game already has, you could argue, too many system mechanics, or at the very least, too many very strong, relevant ones, right? So it's like, you got a massive bug behind you, bro. Yeah. It's how it goes. It's either, what was I gonna say? Like, we have a combo extending one. We have a defensive one. We have, like, a neutral skipping one in 6XL. We have a comeback mechanic in SSBA, right? Like, we have, like, a lot of different ways to spend meter. So it's a little hard to find something that, like, there's going to be a little bit of overlap in whatever you add, probably, right? If it's just an air dash, I would get so hype, would be really divine. That would be if it was just universally give everyone an air dash, I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that, personally. I think the most realistic idea that I like is the Giga skill idea. Yeah. Would be really divisive. Oh, I thought you said divine, because you said so hype, and I assumed you keep being positive. What are Hugo's opinions on the new mechanic? Hugo probably does want some fucking 3 BP option that insta-kills the opponent, but lots of people would hate it. Me, personally, I'd love it. Yeah. Burst? No. Again, we've been over this. It definitely shouldn't be a defensive thing. Giga skills are ult skills? Yeah, what if you could spend even more meter? Or even a Brave... No, that's way... You have to make them too good. What if you could spend, like, 75 meter or, like, 100 meter on like, one... Like, every character got, like, their one Evo skill, like, in fucking Uma Musume? Like, you know, Gran had like a 100-meter Reagan Live that was, I don't know, it did some shit, right? And it like didn't refund any meter on hit or on block, but it was like, it's basically like giving like a super that is probably more of a neutral usage than like a than anything else. But giant Reagan Live, yeah. 1 BP, I get to put the wheel from DNF Duel on my opponent. Adding insta kills instead of strive would be absolutely hilarious. It's a new angle, at least, to the joke. What is this game? It's a fighting game. What if Chip was gray health and you could use BP to restore it? Oh, BP to heal. I don't know about all that. Maybe something off adjust block? That'll be an adjustment to the mechanic, but maybe, again, it is hard, man. It is kind of 100 meter and 3 brave points for instant kill. Yeah, fuck it, man. Why not? Good job, Hugo. You did it. Everyone becomes a lane. I don't know about BP for healing, personally, right? Like, it's a lot easier for me to figure out things that I don't want this to do. I don't want this to be a way to, again, I definitely don't want this to heal. I don't want it to be like a defensive mechanic, almost at all, probably. I don't want it to be a pressure extender, right? I don't think we need those. So, like, either something like a Giga skill, right? Universal overhead like in vanilla? Yeah, maybe. That is a relatively tame option, but maybe. Yeah, it's hard, man. It is really like the PRC idea, the Giga skill idea. They're interesting, but like I don't know if they need to exist necessarily, right? Just block's already really good in certain matchups. Heal off BP's nuts. Agreed. Already have it technically auto combo overhead, but couldn't you like combo off the vanilla one sometime? Focus attack type attack. I mean, this is just giving everyone a parry. No. Is that not? Already beating up a floating dwarf? He's, you know, he's a Harvin. Think of them like he's like a hobbit from Lord of the Rings or some shit. Button that'll let you play if it calls SBA win animation once per match. SF4 focus attacks weren't parries? I know you could like FADC and shit, but isn't like, it doesn't, focus attack inherently is like, it like absorbs an attack and then counter hits, no? Jump cancels on block / hit. Jump cancels is an interesting idea. I don't know, the cast is like set up for it. But that could be interesting. I don't know. Like if I could like close him, probably like the combo probably ends up being worse most of the time, right? If you had something with like enough hit stun on it, right? Like maybe I could do something like this 2H jump cancel and then JH on the way down and like re-jump him or something. It's interesting, right? It's a whatever's open really shakes the game up. I don't want to a safe always use me button. Yeah, again, that's why I don't like the PRC option, because even if it's balanced, which it might not be, but even if it is, it just feels kind of anti-fun, right? It feels like we want people to get blown up for making mistakes. It's one of the fun parts about fighting games. I don't want them to not die when they should die. The game looks cool. I love it a lot. Jump cancel for style points. I fucking guess. Zeta is gonna become a menace, by the way. So, you know, be wary. But it's a pretty tight fucking design space, isn't it? Absorb a single hit, but only attack when you release the buttons charging it or reach full charge. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, what if it was something? How about this? Though this is a little worrying, right? But this is another idea. So, what's PRC? Purple Roman cancel. Again, it wouldn't be the same, but I guess the closest equivalent. If you don't know what it is, then don't worry about it. I don't fully love the idea anyway. So Raging Strike, right? Raging Strike is kind of there as like a way to get more reward off of like your little hits, right? And then it usually features in like most optimal combos, but it's not pulling like a ton. It's not pulling like a ton of weight there, right? So what if there was something that, I mean, this is kind of like what they're doing in Strive, I guess, right? Like, I was gonna say, like, another idea could be like a reward increaser for like bigger starters in some way, right? But again, do we need more top-end damage in this game? I feel like no. It's an idea, but I feel like we don't need it. I feel like we don't need more top-end damage in this video game, right? He said, put counter blitz at the Grand Blue, kill him. I don't even know what that is, but I have heard apparently some people saying that's a thing. Like today, for the first time, I heard that was a thing. How does this game work? You'll have to. I got a whole guide for you if you were that interested. It's a fighting game. You hit the other guy until his health goes to 0. I assume you sound unfamiliar with the genre. I think so. Yeah, it's a fighting game. Think like Street Fighter, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm just trying to. It's hard to gauge what level of detail you're asking on that question. Think of like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or something like that. It's similar to that. Mechanic that is hard to do is Blaze Blue insta-kills, but just deletes the opponent's Steam account. Something that makes combo limit take longer to start, but it increases scaling. Maybe like another, like you could make a second combo tool in the way that Raging Strike Chain is right now, but have it do something, like have a different niche is basically what I'm getting at, right? Like where Raging Strike is very good for confirming light hits into big damage. If you could have something that does something else, I don't love the idea of, I guess it's called Counter Blitz. I don't love that idea, right? I don't love the idea of just like, boom, you know, you got a big hit to get even more damage off of it. I mean, if it was something that opened up new routes, I feel like that could be very cool to give everyone just like a shit ton of stuff to play around with, right? Like if it was something where it was some like corner only thing that costs maybe some like a Brave Point and 25 meter, but just had like a lot of hits done to the point that you could set, like you could combo into like a medium special or something like that. Like maybe, you know what I mean? Like that, at least that would not be really stepping on anything's toes, right? Like it would be like a Raging Chain, but like instead of just there to extend the combo, it's there as like a starter that lets you go into something big. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like a wall splat for BP or something, right? Like imagine like something that would basically let you instead, like Raging Strike, Raging Chain, like it's an extender, but it doesn't open up too many new combo routes generally, right? If it was something where like maybe it didn't do very much damage, right? Or maybe it was like a little bit more like it was the Brave Point with what's it called? The Brave Point and 25 meter, like just like you would spend for Raging Chain. But again, it would do something where like, you know, the hit stun on it was big enough that I could like medium decimate off of it. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like opens up a lot of different routes. Problem is characters with bad mid-screen now lack that mid-screen weakness. You're talking about with Raging Strike, Raging Chain? This exists, right? What do you mean? I mean, if you're saying this shouldn't be, like, you want this nerfed, then fair, but, like, I don't know what you mean. Like, the Raging Chain is not, like, a new idea, right? I didn't hear what you said up until now. What I meant is how the game works. It looks more complicated than Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat. I'm just curious. Oh, nice. I mean, there's a lot of system mechanics, but no, this is not necessarily any more. If anything, it could be simpler than those games in some ways, for sure, right? And the wall bounce? Well, I mean more so like these kind of wall bounces that only work when it hits the wall, right? This would be a corner only thing, right? This would be a corner only thing. Like not like the wall bounce where like, you know, that wall bounce is there, but it doesn't wall bounce like here, you know? Like you have to hit the actual corner for the wall bounce. But yeah, like something that, cause I think that could be fun. It would, the problem with this is it's a balancing nightmare. Because this is going to be disproportionately better for some characters than others. And that's okay, right? That's fine. But like, how the numbers on this matter so much. You know what I mean? Is it a Brave Point to 25 meter? Okay, sure, fine. Does it do any damage? Okay, if it gives you like a really big window to follow up after, how big is that window? How big can that window be before some characters do things that just like aren't allowed? Like you start letting people set up their set play tools like very like mid combo into damage. Like, this would be very scary with set play characters. So like maybe this has to be like big but not that big, but then again, if you make it too small, why the fuck is it worth everything that I'm spending on it, right? But it could be an idea. It could be an idea of something that is like just like basically a way to open up combo routes for a lot of characters in the corner. If you could design it in such a way that it did not disproportionately benefit set play, that would be cool, but I don't know if that's entirely possible, to be completely real with you, right? But it's another option. It's another option. Because Raging Strike and Raging Chain do not currently fit that niche, right? A free side switch for everyone? I don't know. Would it be that big for set play characters if it's a mid combo only tool? Well, it depends, because the idea I'm having for it is that it's a mid combo tool, but like it would like have a big follow-up window, right? Again, think of something that would, for example, like let some characters fit in like their slower medium skills into their combos or something, right? So again, it would open up a lot of combo routing. It would give people to lab. It'll have like a lot of new tech for characters. You know, maybe there'd be pros and cons with existing combos. It could be a way to spend a Brave Point. Maybe it would let some characters get some resource in the middle of a combo or something. That's all well and good. But if it's like too big, then you could have Eustace like drop his fucking U grenade off it raw and have enough time to keep juggling you and then cancel off it and get a full combo, you know what I mean? Or like it would let Matera like drop you butterfly, continue the combo, like drop a you butterfly, which you already can do, but it'll make it like very easy, right? What will be the most acceptable minimum power level for a nerfed BC? It doesn't hard knock down on brave on counter hits, I think, is the big one, right? Like this, if it doesn't do that, that's already like, it's still very good, but I think that is, it is now not literally unfair the way it currently is. So having less damage in the game overall would be nice, to be fair. Maybe. Certainly it could. I think by and large, I'm relatively okay with the damage output of the cast. And I'm very okay as well with some characters being huge outliers. I just always want to make sure that characters, if a character is going to hit like a Mack truck, they need to give up a lot for that. You know what I mean? Like the prime example that I always use is I have no problem at all with the fact that Vasaraga can TOD himself, right? I have no problem at all with the fact that Vasaraga can TOD some characters when they're not even on 0 BP, right? I think that's fine. I think that's okay. I think he should be able to do that. But he should be probably a lot worse in neutral and even worse than he currently is on defense if he's going to do that. Like the problems arise when like some characters are doing ridiculous damage and don't have like requisite weaknesses, right? Like I'm very okay with 3 Dragonstock or even like 1 or 2 Dragonstock Siegfried deleting you if you get counter hit heavies, right? But either he needs to give up a lot more, be a lot less well-rounded than he currently is, or he needs to delete you a little less, probably, right? Like I'm fine with characters doing high damage, but it needs to come at some sort of cost, right? They're very much aiming to make every character do a lot of damage at this point. Yes and no. Like certainly a lot of characters, mid-screen especially, has gotten a lot better, but I definitely don't think it's a thing where it's like, oh, you can't even tell, like, the differences in average damage between characters. You don't even feel it anymore. I don't think that's really true, right? But yes, I mean, you know, the goal of this was never to, like, guess what the system mechanic was going to be. It is just, what could it be, right? And just try to flesh out the idea a little bit more, and then we'll see. We'll see what they end up going with. But, again, after a lot of waffling, I'm definitely going to have to edit this down tremendously, right? But after a lot of waffling, I think that if I start like with the biggest umbrella and go down, right? If I start with like the biggest possible umbrella and go down, about something like a temporary buff, could be interesting. I feel like when I hear the words, I don't like it. I don't know why, but it doesn't scan well to me. But I'm also, I'm just a fat fucking chud, man. Okay, so if I just go from like the most new account is linking your UMA account and being able to play UMA while you wait for matches. Yeah. If I have to go from like most general to like least general, right? It's like what do I want it to be? There's a lot of different things here, but I probably want it to be like a resource costing, right? I want it to cost a resource because I think resource management is fun. And the more stuff we have to spend resources on, the more interesting the moment-to-moment gameplay becomes, right? And then if from resource costing, we could have it cost, right? If from resource costing, we could have it cost BP. Actually, you know what? Let me type this instead. If we could have it cost BP, right? Or we could have it cost meter, right? Or we could have it cost a third thing, right? Then I would probably rather it cost BP. That seems the most interesting to me. All right. Okay. So now, if it's gonna cost BP, what are you using your BP to do? Right? If it's gonna be either an offensive mechanic or a defensive mechanic, I think it should definitely be an offensive mechanic, personally. Right? I think we have more than enough defensive system mechanics, right? What about costing health? Again, the same way that it should cost, the same way it probably shouldn't cost more than 1 BP, it probably shouldn't cost health either, because to make it worth spending a brave point and health, well, I'm saying just health, you're kind of fucking with Avatar Belial's whole vibe, I think, right? Is a brave crystal consuming cooldown resets too crazy? I just don't like the idea of a pressure extender, right? I don't like the idea of a pressure extender necessarily, right? Oh, by the way, 1. Let me just say that very quickly. I think this thing should cost 1 BP, right? Holds 1. It should cost 1 BP. It definitely should not cost any more than that. I think health already kind of steps on Abel's toes. Yeah. Should be offensive mechanic, probably, right? And then from this is where it gets a little harder to like, subdivide this, right? But like, say for example, that it could be, simplifying this, if it could be like a neutral, skip, right? If it could be a pressure tool, or if it could be a combo tool. I don't like the idea of this at all, because I think either you'd have to make this so broken that it's not fair, or if this is, this has to compete with 6XL in some way while costing a brave point. So you're out of options, because you can't make it not broken, because then why the fuck wouldn't I 6XL, right? And if you make it too broken, I don't want it there, right? Spend 3 BP to reset combo limit of the current combo. Too strong, way too strong. That turns almost everything into a TOD, right? Again, I put 1 BP in here for a very good reason. Anything that you want to cost more than 1 BP has to be so fucking good as to completely warp the game around, right? What if there's a move that's only available when out of BP? That's interesting. That could be interesting. Like as a comeback mechanic, basically, right? I don't love the idea of, I think our comeback mechanic in SSBA might already be too strong, right? But it's not a horrible idea. Like, it's an interesting one. I just don't have many thoughts on it personally, besides maybe kind of know. Between pressure and combo tool, I could really see either, right? But I think you have to be very careful with both of these still, right? You have to be very careful with both of these regardless. Some kind of corner combo tool that like opens up new routes for characters, I think could be very cool. Could be one of the most interesting ways to spend this new BP if it's gonna be like that. But again, it's just kind of a balancing nightmare, right? A pressure tool. The problem with this is I find it a little difficult to make one of these that it doesn't either feel kind of like bad and not worth spending a BP on, or like a little too broken. You know what I mean? Like, again, this idea of people keep saying cooldown refresh. It's like the 8th time someone said cooldown refresh. It's just too good. It's just way too good, right? Like spending a BP to, especially if we're talking about a world with like a nerfed Brave counter or something. Isn't Raging Strike already a combo tool? Yes, but Raging Strike is a combo tool that costs a BP that has a very particular niche. Like in corner combos, it's cool, but like it's not really doing that much. It's like a little nice add-on that a lot of characters would like to have, right? But the main niche of Raging Strike as a combo tool is converting little hits into way more damage than they should be for a lot of resource, right? There is a lot of combo design space. That's why I also kind of like the combo tool idea. There's a lot of combo design space that isn't that. There's a lot of combo design space that isn't converting your 2L into 6K at the cost of all of your resources, which is the main thing that Raging Strike does as a combo tool. So if you think about like the whole spectrum of like what it means to be a combo, Raging Strike and Raging Chain are only really occupying like this little part of it, right? They don't do like a ton. Like, yes, you can like Raging Strike and corner combos, but yeah, like the problem with the pressure tool is that like, yeah, like a cooldown refresh, even not just Lucy. Obviously, Lucilius is a particularly bad idea. But in general, I don't know that I love the idea of spending a Brave points for a pressure extender, right? Basically, anything that overlaps its niche with 6XL or Brave counter is going to hit a critical mass. You understand? That if I have to put it into like words a little bit more elegantly, anything that overlaps its niche with 6XL or a Brave counter is going to hit a critical mass of bad idea, right? So anything that is a pressure extender, that is a pressure reset, something like that, like not free, like resource costing, so even better than 6XL probably plus frames, that is all probably a bad idea. People talking about an invincible backdash, people talking about burst, people talking about a combo breaker, things again that just like get the opponent off of you very well at the cost of a resource, that is also a bad idea, I think, right? Brave counter and 6XL are both already, even if you nerf them, more than good enough. Like, even if they were nerfed, they would still be very strong. Am I okay with them being very strong? Yes, but, like, they don't need a second thing stacking on top of that, right? A friend made a theory, 6XL is now negative, you get a 6.6U that's plus and cost meter. That would be really bad, I think. It'd be really, really, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be mean to your friend, but anytime I ever hear anyone suggest that 6XL should be made minus on block, I'm like, it's okay, I understand it's an annoying mechanic, I don't think you play the game very much. To make that work, you would have to probably redesign the whole game from the ground. You probably have to, like, I mean, if 6XL was minus, the amount of nerfs you would have to give BC to make 6XL being minus even remotely a good idea is way too many. You would probably have to remove the throw invincibility from the game. It would nerf worse characters way more than good characters, right? So the balance would get completely destroyed. Anytime, if, like, someone earlier said maybe 6XL should be +1, and I was like, I think that's probably not a good idea. If 6XL was minus on block, even like -1 or 2, you rip the game in half from its, like, foundation, I feel like. So I don't know. I don't think so, personally. But, like, it's like for how much you might hate 6XL, it is kind of, I know it's crazy to say, but, like, it's that fucking meme. Hold up. It's like the meme with, like, the soldier and the sleeping child. Soldier protecting child. I think that's, yeah. Like, it's like this, but, like, this is 6XL, and, like, this is Brave counter. This is 9 frames of throw invuln on wake up. This is, you know, fucking fuzzy mash, right? There's way too many, like, good things for the defender as it currently stands, right? This is like, oh yeah, this is fucking 1-button meterless DPs. This is 1-button supers, right? Like there's way too many things that make it hard enough to pressure people as it stands in this game. That, like, yes, 6XL is very strong, but, like, we need him, man. Now, again, could you make it not be the case? Yes, but you could, at that point, if you're gonna remove 6XL, you have to make a game that isn't the Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, right? You could make 6XL minus, which would essentially remove it, but you would have to probably, like, get rid of Brave counter entirely, essentially. You probably would have to have this game have almost no, you probably have to, like, introduce, like, throw loops to the game, you know what I mean? Like, something. Yeah. We have to do an MBTL, where you can turn off auto combo to be able to do things like reverse beat combos and jump cancel combos. Remember your training. I mean, this would just be a buff to combos for everyone who's not brand new to the game, is what you're saying. I don't know. I don't think so, personally. Yeah. I mean, reverse beat. We don't even have, like, non-reverse beat in the game, right? Like, you can do links, but we have no, like, gatlings like that anyway. Reverse beat doesn't really make sense in a game like this, since we don't have forward beat. We know forward beat. Wouldn't 6XL still have pressure anyway, since it cancels into medium universally, unless they want that gone too? I mean, yeah, it would have that option as a frame trap, and then you would give your turn up. Like, it would be an even on-block frame trap for some characters, and then, like, if not, it would be minus. Sure, right? But it would just get way too hard to, like, ever do anything to anyone, unless Melty Blood type Lumina. I see. But yeah, like, some kind of pressure tool or some kind of combo tool. I think a pressure tool could be very interesting. Like, I think if well executed, this to me seems like the best idea. But I think this is the hardest to create without just having it, again, either feel really bad. Like, I think that PRC idea, which, again, for anyone who was not there, basically not actual PRC from Guilty Gear, if you know what I'm talking about, but the idea of, like, being able to cancel a special, an uncancelable special, into just block, like, into only block, right? To make something that is basically unsafe on block safe suddenly. You don't get to start a combo with it, you don't get to, like, do anything like that, but you can make an unsafe thing safe. I think that could be balanced, but I think that sucks. Like, I think that is just not fun to play against. You know what I mean? I think that takes all the big dopamine moments. Safe but critically minus. Yeah, like, you're blocking, but there's, like, no way you can take your turn back unless you, like, DP or something, like, or maybe, like, you can get like fucking, like, because you're blocking, you can be, like, true block stringed into a close out or something, right? But yeah, like, I think that could be balanced, but I think it's just not fun. I think it takes, like, all of the dopamine out of the game, you know? Like, I block my opponent's big, punishable thing that they were like, oh, if this hits, I'm gonna kill them. And it goes, oh, fuck, it missed. Please miss your punish. Instead, it just goes, that whole situation's gone. I guess it's not fun. You know what I mean? Like, it could be balanced, but I don't think it's a good idea. So, like, outside of that, like, every pressure-related thing I can think of is, like, broken. Like, it's a pressure reset. It's more extensions. It shares a niche with 6XL, right? I think of all the system mechanics, the one that you can overlap with is probably Raging Strike and Raging Chain. And that's why combo tool feels like the most realistic one to me. Now, I could just not be creative enough. There could be a whole other fourth option in here that I'm not thinking of, right? There could be something else where none of the system mechanics in the game currently touch it at all. Like it's a layer of the fighting game, mind game that nothing is touching whatsoever, and at least system mechanic wise, right? And now it's there, right? Who knows, right? Yeah, like maybe, you know, some kind of universal high-low, like a dust, genuinely, right? Like some kind of universal high that can be rewarding in certain cases that overlaps a little bit with like Raging Strike being a DI or something. But what will the summons do? I don't play the gacha at all. The summons in the gacha, from what little I played, they have like a passive effect, and then you can call them as like a big fucking bomb attack a lot of the times, right? Versus is just one thing it did, but if you mashed L on hits without auto combo, you keep doing close L. Basically, you wouldn't do the moves that are MX or MXX anymore. You could do close H to close M type of deal. Yeah, I don't know if that's a great idea for Grand Blue, just because all that would do is probably just buff combo. Like, that's probably not that much of a sacrifice, you know what I mean? Like, probably just buff combos a lot. This is gonna be too good for set play characters again. What are we talking about? Oh, the summons? Again, it really depends on how what you're talking about with those. I don't know what the summons. I don't know what people keep overheads. Maybe a lot of those set play characters can already use their overheads to start combos for what it's worth. So it would, if anything, close that gap a little bit. But certainly there could be like unintended consequences depending on how it overlaps, right? Like, but yeah, so like maybe. If they wanted the game to suddenly be like a lot more, because that is, if you want to take the game in like a little bit of a different direction, certainly the most offensive, right? Like the most offensive thing you could do, and maybe offensive as well, would be like mix-up tool, right? Like if they just gave some like universal BP costing mix tool, that would make the game feel very different. Mix as it currently stands in this game is like real actual 50-50s, not even let alone fucking 25-25, 25-25, right? But like actual 50-50s are very rare in Grand Blue, right? And you really feel the characters that have them, right? It's a very special thing. If they wanted to say, fuck it, everyone has some kind of mix now, that would be interesting. I don't think I like this idea, right? But that is like another direction you could go, right? Is like, fuck it, universal mix-up tool. I don't think I like this idea. I think the game is just not balanced around it whatsoever. But like, it is a whole new paradigm of offense you could do, right? And actually, you could use Dust to dash people towards the wall, so you got like a unique combo cancel notwithstanding. Seems like a thing that doesn't have overlap in this game. You could Dust to dash people towards the wall. Like a corner carry option, basically? Maybe. Raging Chain with directional input to get different effects, wall bounce, higher knockup, restand as examples, possibly? Maybe. That sounds more like an adjustment to a system mechanic, though a huge one, right? But anyway, I mean, we're never going to guess what this is going to be, obviously. This is just like a speculation thing, seeing like kind of a disguise as like an analysis of the existing system mechanics of the game and what they do well or do too well, maybe, or what they don't do or what's not covered. And like, for what it's worth, as expected, maybe not surprising, considering if you've spent any amount of time playing Grand Blue. The system mechanics in this game are already pretty pervasive, right? Like, there is a system mechanic that does most of everything, right? Like, you have a guard cancel, you have like a pressure reset that is also your neutral skip tool, right? Like, you have a combo extender, even if that's where maybe there's the least overlap with things, right? You have comeback mechanics. Like the system mechanics that already exist in the game do a lot of what you might expect system mechanics to do universally. So, watch it end up just being wall break from Guilty Gear. I mean, it could. It would be odd, certainly, because that would just be weird. I mean, if they want to nerf set play as the same way they kind of wanted to do with Strive in the first place, right? Then sure, I guess. But I think that just wouldn't make a lot of sense. Like, you break the wall, and then I suppose you get positive bonus. Are you saying also positive bonus, or like just a wall break? It seems like a kind of like a, it feels like a not very well thought out idea of how that fits into the game. You know what I mean? Maybe, I guess, but I'm like, what does that do? You know, like how, like it feels like it's porting a mechanic over from something else. You know what I mean? Set play isn't good enough in Grand Blue to be a problem that has to be fixed. Yeah, I think certainly individual options could be tuned down, but it's not like a universal issue. The game doesn't have mix. So like, it is mostly. The game is not a situation where you get knocked down once and you never get to play ever again, right? In fact, if anything, it's a little too far the other way. So that's another reason I wouldn't like a wall break is like I kind of want like give the attacker something, man. Give the attacker something. It even works. Stages aren't segmented like that. Yeah, that feels like this. I think you were joking, so that's fine. But this is like not a very well thought out idea at all, right? But yeah, man, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe here's honestly out of all the things, after several hours of deliberating, I think that the best thing they could probably do is probably remove Wild Assault from Guilty Gear Strive and then put it into Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising. I know maybe you guys have never ever heard anyone suggest that before, but we've gone over almost everything with a fine-tooth comb, and my guess is probably I think it will be very clever, unique, and cool for them to remove Wild Assault from Guilty Gear Strive and put it in Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising. I've never heard anyone say that idea either, so that's probably what they're gonna end up doing because I think I fucking hard read them. Guffawing and chuckling right now, yeah, I think that's definitely got to be what it is. Walls are always the only place lots of characters get good combos and expanded mid-screen over the years. Yeah, make up the thumbnail. Yeah. But Mr. Streamer 6XL is already in the game. Oh my god, I hadn't. Holy fuck, you're right. It's kind of already like Wild Assault because it's a neutral skip that can be plus on block. Whoa. Shit. All right, well, I'm owned. I'm out of ideas, man. Fucking have a wonderful. I'm gonna end the stream. Oh shit. Yeah. What if you turned green?